This is the Nerdy Things Podcast. This podcast contains strong language, adult themes, and poorly developed ideas. We apologize for nothing. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome to episode 45 of the Nerdy Things Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kevin. I am joined, as always, by Jules. Hey, Jules.
Heyo.
And by Tim. What's going on, Tim?
What's up, Kevin and Jules?
Heyo. Man, Kevin's got the soundboard. He's got it ready. He's got it going. Look at this guy.
I have spent weeks trying to get this soundboard to work so that you guys can hear it too, because I've been hearing voices and I thought I was crazy, but you guys can hear voices today too.
Yay. We got it.
You hearing voices, us hearing voices, and you being crazy are all mutually exclusive things.
Unrelated.
Yeah, they're all unrelated. We're hearing a lot of voices.
Regardless.
Hearing a lot of voices because we got a lot of voicemails, which is super cool. And we thank y'all for calling in and leaving us your thoughts on Star Wars. And I think we have one from last week, right?
Yeah, we had a voicemail of William singing his favorite Christmas carol. I don't have it queued up because I'm not going to play that in the show.
Oh, damn!
But it was super sweet, and I love you, William. Thank you very much.
We asked people to call in and sing to us, and William, our favorite listener, did that and left us a bunch of voicemails and emails, and we'll get into that because today's Star Wars Day. We're talking about Star Wars. Everybody's hyped.
Star Wars. Talking about
Star Wars.
Musical cue. That was not a button. That was them live. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the new Star Wars movie that came out this week. And, of course, we're going to get into that a little bit later. We're going to do non-spoiler talk, and then we're going to do a spoiler talk. But first, we do nerdy news and all that stuff. So even if you haven't seen the movie, you can still listen to the podcast and still suggest your friends and your mom and your brother and everybody listen to our podcast. Don't forget, you can reach us on most social media at Nerdy Things Pod. That's Nerdy Things Pod. And you can send us an email at nerdythingspod@gmail.com. You can visit our website, nerdythingspod.com, for the latest nerdy news updated daily and links to our merch for shirts and more. This week, we're going to have 2 exclusive new designs. One that looks like the YouTube logo because we're doing a lot more stuff on YouTube, and one that looks like the Star Wars logo, but it says Nerdy Things. It's going to be pretty cool. You're going to want it on a shirt. I know these 2 are going to want it on a shirt because they're super Star Wars nerds. So, you can check out our website for that. Links to the merch, links to the YouTube to watch the podcast episodes because we do these on video. We released last week like 4 new videos. We had, what was it? A Kevin rant. We did a Tim's minute. We did y'all did interviews after Star Wars. We did so many things going on our YouTube channel. Go check it out. Link is in the website, nerdythingspod.com. You can get our Patreon for extra content like bloopers and early access to our stuff. There's something I'm going to put up there today for our Patreons and our patrons and all that cool stuff. And you can text us or leave us a voicemail, 978-78-NERDY. That's 978-786-3739, and we'll be playing voicemails sporadically because we have a ton of voicemails to get to. Everybody wanted to give us their thoughts on Star Wars and good, bad, the ugly, all that good stuff. We're going to play some of that for y'all later on.
Yeah, so 2 things. One, first off, about those voicemails, we got so many, and some of them were so inclusive that I edited some of them down. So I tried to keep the thought of the voicemail together, but make it so that it would fit our conversation that we're going to have and the time that we have to talk about it. So, don't be offended. I didn't change anybody's message. I didn't do anything. We really appreciate the voicemail, the depth of the voicemail, the length of them, but we just didn't have time to get through the whole thing. And before we go much further, I wanted to say we had a correction on last week's episode from one of our listeners who is familiar with the publishing industry. Apparently, I was really mistaken about how popular Ready Player One was prior to the Loot Crate thing, and apparently Loot Crate begged them to let them include it in the box, and so it was much more popular than I think it should have been.
Ooh, yeah. All right. Yeah.
Kevin's not backing down from his assessment of the book, just correcting his accuracy on the popularity of the book.
Sure.
Hey,
Before
you know,
it was in the Loot Crate. So yeah, that was an addendum to last week's episode. If you haven't listened to that one, go check it out. Go check out all our past episodes. But if you want to help us out in any little way that you can do it by doing a iTunes review, and we love our iTunes review. And here's one from the Remote Control Podcast, which is a pretty good podcast. They said, "Excellent. Much like my own podcast, you cover a vast array of topics. The hosts have great chemistry, which is important in my opinion. This is absolutely a show I am subscribing to. Keep it up, guys."
awesome. Thank you.
Tim, your thoughts?
Tim, what's your review on that review?
Well, nice job on complimenting us, which is well deserved. We deserve your compliments. We do have great chemistry. All of what you said is true. However, I would ask that reviewers refrain from self-promotion in their reviews in the future. You are here to promote us and boost our ego. This is not to further your own particular. So
you're not gonna like a lot of the voicemails, I'm sure.
2.0. Sorry.
Two stars on that review.
That's a big. I mean, don't get me wrong. It would have been a 5-star review, but we can't make mistakes like that.
Too much of you in the review. It's all about us whenever you're doing that. You can delete your review and try again. Remote Control Podcast. Thanks and congrats on listening.
What
and
jerks those two are. Thank you very much for the review. I appreciate it.
Let's get into the nerdy news.
All right.
Nerdy news.
At 6 o'clock. So we have to start off.
Professional.
I know, right? It sounds it. We have to start off nerdy news this week with a little bit of net neutrality again. Unfortunately, the FCC voted to repeal net neutrality. So I don't know what it's going to mean in the long run. People are in arms, but this is not what the people wanted. This is not what I think we should have. I don't think it's going to be the post-apocalyptic wasteland that a lot of people are yelling, but I think it's always somewhere in the middle because it usually is. Does it mean we're going to pay more? Very likely. Does it mean that businesses are going to try to make more money? They always do. So I don't know. We got
to go back to how the internet was in 2015, guys. Remember the internet just a few years ago. We got to go back to it, back when net neutrality was a thing. Whatever. It was that Pi dude. Fuck that guy. But anyways, yeah, I think definitely it's going to stay the same for a while because big companies are going to be like, hey, we're good. We're going to be good guys. That's what we do. We don't charge you for anything. And then after like the public forgets about it, then they're going to be like, well, I mean, if you want to use Facebook, it's like $5 more, but like you like Facebook, right? Like, yeah, just do it.
I think like all things business related, it's capitalism at its purest. It's the ebb and flow. We're going to see some companies try to screw you over. We're going to see others pretend to be the good guy and not screw you over in that way. And hopefully someone will rise out of the ashes, Google, and, save us. Or Elon Musk with his satellite internet. Someone.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm going to just give a couple of thoughts because I don't want to get into net neutrality for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
One, before net neutrality, people were not charging piecemeal for the internet. I don't believe that people will charge piecemeal in the internet going forward because these telecom companies stand to make a lot of money, and the public outcry on this is clear. So if they're smart business people, they will. If they want to raise their rates $5 overall, that's one thing. I mean, they always price gouge us. They're always price gouging us.
But I have to interrupt you. It's not just about the end user. It's also about them price gouging the sites themselves. Hey, Facebook, you want users to get to you? Well, we're Comcast, and we own 80% of the people in the U.S. on the internet. So you now have to pay us $20,000 per 100 people or whatever it is.
Or else we're throttling.
I just think all of that stuff is bad PR for them. And
it is, but it's also legal, and it happens. It has happened within the last year with Netflix.
Legal,
So-
yeah, all right. So, but the net neutrality thing, I think it's just bad PR. Like Jules said, at least for a while. Who knows what'll happen 5 years from now? If this even goes through, this still needs to go through the courts and still needs to go through Congress. So let's slow our roll on that a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. The other thing is, how is it that the fate of our telecom industry is decided by 5 people?
Did y'all watch that live?
Above and beyond all of this, that's probably the biggest thing to me because I never realized that. How do we have more Supreme Court justices than people on the FCC? How is it that every jury that decides a petty larceny case has 12 people on it and the FCC has 5? How is it that the fate of our telecom and because this is one of the biggest industries in our economy right now. How is that decided by 5 people? That is literally insane.
Yes, it is.
And if everybody watched it live, I watched it live on Twitter, and everybody was giving their case. They were trying to make it seem like that it's going to be better for the creator, it's going to be better for whoever, whatever. But I think we're fine right now. But whatever. And they immediately said, everybody that says yes, 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 no, no. All right. Well, next thing. And they just kept rolling. And it's like, what? That was just like that? You're going to decide on? It's like, what the hell? 5 people right there. Split down the Republican and Democrat thing, but whatever. Yeah, that's a thing. So we'll see what happens.
Really a man versus woman split? Isn't that what I understood?
It was, and it's a Republican versus Democrat, but gender's not a binary thing. But anyways,
it was still the 2 that identified as women that voted the right way, and the 3 that voted as men were voting the wrong way.
Yep.
So men suck.
Yeah, we suck. White men and others, and the pie. Anybody that's goofy faced and the chairman, whatever.
Pretty much.
Anything else? Let's get to it. Let's get to some good news. What's the next thing?
Speaking of white men sucking, Olaf the short that they took away from the beginning of Coco was put on ABC as a special where it should have been in the first place, and apparently did.
And how did it do? Wow.
Oh, really? People loved it. It was amazing because they were choosing to watch it, and it was a half hour, and so it's fine. Plus, I think the commercials interrupting it really helped the story. So,
you mean when it was edited originally with natural commercial cuts?
Yes.
That it worked better when the natural commercial cuts occurred. Interesting.
So weird. So strange to me. Because, I love that like commercial where they have the build up and then you have the cut for the commercial and then you have like that slight repeat and then they come back.
Oh,
and
God.
then when you don't have the commercials, it's like, wow, that was very weird.
Yeah, so that happened. They took out the Olaf short, put it on TV, and kids watched it. Kids that don't know what they're watching watched it and go, "Oh my God, Olaf!"
Those simple morons.
They
loved it.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
that's something that happened this week.
Also, so speaking of simple morons, Channing Tatum's Gambit is moving forward and apparently going to shoot in 10 weeks in New Orleans and other locations. I guess I didn't realize that this was still actually a thing and that it was still actually moving forward. I figured it had been canceled 4 times by now.
I don't know why. I just really love Gambit as a character. It's just really cool.
I like Gambit as part of the X-Men, but Gambit on his own is not interesting to me. I'm sorry. I think he's just a weird dude who can do something that they don't really understand, and that's about it.
With cards and then like a long stick. And I remember playing him in some of the old X-Men video games. I'm like, hell yeah. It's fucking cool.
He carries playing cards, and for some reason he can make them fly further than they ever should.
With power in them.
Yeah, well, he can channel kinetic energy. Ooh. Carry anything. Carry coins. You can throw coins.
We saw him in a movie, right? He was in one of the X-Men movie.
Was
I think
we saw him.
I remember somebody throwing
cards.
Movies.
Yeah, one of the Wolverine movies. It was played by Taylor Kitsch, I believe.
Yeah, I liked it. Again, this is me not being a comic book guy. I thought he was kind of cool, and I like Channing Tatum. So,
Yeah.
Why not? Let's do it.
You know what? Great. The more movies, the better. I like movies. I like Channing Tatum's.
We'll see if he's in it more than he was in the Kingsman 2 movie. Hopefully they don't put him into a cryogenic sleep or something.
You don't think he's going to get a Southern accent in this one?
Well, here's hoping. He's great with accents. So let's see what's going on.
Is it going to be fat Channing or buff Channing?
I don't know. I think in the show, Gambit's not that like built really. He has a big cloak.
He's like a runner. He's like that thin runner look.
Oh well, Channing Tatum's never going to be that. He's either going to be the pudgy guy from Logan Lucky or he's going to be Magic Mike. Like, there's no thin version of Channing Tatum. I don't know where this is coming from.
Yeah, he's more like Chris Pratt looks now, like that svelte, like thinner, not like Chris Pratt from Guardians, and not like Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec. You know, like Chris Pratt from.
So Channing Tatum is Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt, or Guardians Chris Pratt. That's
right.
His only two versions.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But luckily, we have Chris Pratt to be Chris Pratt. So we have the Cowboy Ninja Viking movie that he's working on. Have you guys heard anything about this?
What is this?
This is based on a series of comic books where he basically...
I just heard 5 minutes ago or 5 seconds ago that Chris Pratt was in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm super excited about this. But basically, yeah, he's this guy who exhibits the best traits of like cowboys, ninjas, and Vikings to get out of whatever bad situation he has found himself in. And he's an assassin. I think it's a perfect role for him. Like it's going to be goofy. It's going to be weird. It's going to be Chris Pratt in a nutshell. Let's do it. I'm in.
And 3 nouns, Cowboy Ninja Viking. That's just like, yes, let's just do it. Let's go see this.
That's almost like, let's just put 3 unrelated words together and see what happens.
And make a comic. Oh, they got all the good
comic. It's like an app on the phone. You just press the button and see what comes up. Yeah, let's make a movie out of that. That'll be fun.
A lot of people are searching Cowboy Ninja Viking in the Google search term. That's an idea. We got to make something out of this.
Well, one of my favorite comics, online comics for a long time was Dr. McNinja, which I don't know if you guys have ever heard of, but it's about this
Is
doctor
it McDonald's related?
Who's actually the first storyline is McDonald's related, believe it or not, but it's about this doctor who is also a ninja. His last name is McNinja, and he's got a gorilla as an assistant, and he treats people for weird diseases like Paul Bunyan disease, where they just become giants. And he fights the evil clown in charge of this, McDonald's corporation. I forget the name of it, but it was definitely like a McDonald's ripoff because it was Ronald McDonald. Super funny stuff. Got really weird at the end, and the artist stopped doing it because he went to draw for Deadpool. He went to I think write and draw for Deadpool. So
does he drink lots of beer too? Because sounds like an Irish ninja.
Yeah, it was definitely an Irish ninja. It was really like the weirdest, coolest thing. I think the site's still up. You guys should check it out.
And when your last name's McNinja, it's kind of like a given that you're going to go into like a certain occupation. Like, well, I guess I have to if my name's fucking McNinja.
His parents hated that he was a doctor.
Outside of Star Wars, there's not much that excites me more than a ninja and a scally cap. So,
no, it was always a ninja with a stethoscope and a big white jacket.
Oh.
Oh
boy! Just throwing star out. What
Yeah.
else we got? So all this news
we're
is
reaching this week, guys.
Yeah, we're reaching this
for the
week on
audience,
on
we're
the
reaching.
news.
Deep
We're
reach.
just trying to get into Star Wars. Not a whole lot happened other that's not
No.
Star Wars related.
Wasn't
So
reported on.
Just going through some news here. We're talking about Bright again.
What's
Did
that?
you
I've
know-
never heard of it.
Did you know they're making Bright? Netflix
No.
is making Bright.
Did you hear
It's
they're
gonna be
talking
a
about a
thing.
sequel already?
Whoa, it still hasn't come out. As the time of recording of this, it still has not come out. I think it's coming out in 2 days. But let's get a sequel. Let's get it going. Will Smith, Netflix. Why not? Get Will Smith in an Adam Sandler deal. Please.
No, let's not.
No?
What kind of movie could we create for those two?
Adam, Adam Sandler and Will Smith. Have they been in
All
a
right.
movie before?
The Fresh Prince of Billy Madison?
I was just going to say I need Fresh Prince with Opera Man.
Oh,
Fresh
that'd
Prince
be
with
good.
Opera Man.
That'd be
Opera
interesting.
Man. Yep.
Are they assigned together by a producer to make a record for some reason?
Oh,
Yep. That's
whoa.
exactly what it is.
Clean.
Yes.
Clean
I
record.
need to see it.
Like Max Martin gets together and goes, I need these two, and we'll make the greatest pop album of all time.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Wow.
Absolutely.
We'll get cameos from Taylor Swift. We'll get cameos from that girl who won American Idol, Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clark. Well,
We'll get Macklemore. We'll get I don't know. It's cameo Kesha. We'll get Kesha.
We need cameos from Will Smith and Adam Sandler as themselves.
whoa. What?
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be okay. What you didn't say was they're in full like character, but then they come out and it's like, whoa, Adam Sandler. Or like do like
Spoiler,
a
Jazzy Jeff saves the day in the end.
yeah. There you go. What's this film called? What are we gonna call it? This Netflix
Ninja
original.
Vic Tidy Pants.
All right, there you go. We just
We'll get
pitched to the
Mathew
new
Vaughn to
Netflix.
direct it.
There you go. Yeah, that'll be good. He's doing some cool stuff, right?
He is. Well, he may be busy doing something for DC. Apparently, he confirmed talks that he was in with them probably around Man of Steel 2, but still tight-lipped about it, so who knows what's going to happen with that. But I'm behind it. I like Kingsman. I like Mathew Vaughn. You know, he does some decent stuff with comic book movies.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Pretty meh.
With Superman, though,
I could see it. I could see it working.
he's kind of funny, Mathew Vaughn.
And you think DC couldn't stand to be funnier?
Oh, no, they could, but Superman funny?
Yeah.
Superman's not funny.
I could
His
kinda
mustache
see it.
was funny.
That's true.
No ma-
I'm thinking of other movies, like I don't know if you wanted to do the Green Lantern or something like that, but Superman, I love Mathew Vaughn, but this particular matchup is giving my brain problems.
Or maybe is the Flash already has a director?
Oh, that would be good.
It's had a director and lost a director like 7 times, so maybe.
Yeah. So maybe
Maybe.
that's it.
That could
That
I'm
would be
pretty
like a match
sure.
made in heaven.
I'm pretty sure DC is gonna pull the trigger on the Flash first because everybody loved it. So we already know what they're up to. They're like, yeah, let's do more of whatever it is. So probably Mathew Vaughn's just gonna be like, hey, I'm here for the Flash, and let's do it. Sure, that'd be good.
Perfect. All
Probably
right.
better than Superman.
Better than a lot of things. Better than the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie with Marlon Wayans. It'd be better than that. So, I mean, fortunately, that's something they'll never reboot because that's just dead forever.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. They're rebooting that and releasing it in 2021. So that's coming up.
Because we need a Dungeons and Dragons. Just let Dungeons and Dragons be our imagination. Just let it.
Here's the thing. I think if they do it right, I think this could work. We do have Game of Thrones. We do have a bunch of fantasy stuff that people, I guess, still want, maybe. So let's make this happen. But give this to someone who's passionate about it. This is definitely something that should be a passion project. This is definitely not something that should be like, hey, by the way, we haven't made one of these in 17 years. Let's make one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's someone that approached them and said, I want to do this, then I say we let him do that.
Sure,
Or her.
There's a ton of Dungeons and Dragons fans out there that are voice actors, that are directors. Get somebody that's, somebody have that idea to do it, but let's not do it this way. And in 2021, are we still going to be I know Dungeons and Dragons has lasted a really long time, but are we still going to be in this fantasy bubble that we love? I mean, Game of Thrones is ending. There's like 5 new spinoffs in the works apparently, but are we still going to be in this, fantasy thing? We saw how Fear the Walking Dead was. Everybody's over zombies. That came out way too late for what they were trying to do. And I don't know if we're still going to be up for a Dungeons and Dragons reboot in 2021.
I guess we'll see. It's a gamble. Let's see if it pays off.
So there's not that much news. There's some game news like PUBG's okay on Xbox and all that, but whatever. But we had some trailers that came out this week that were pretty interesting. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about this Mortal Engines movie or series and why I'm super excited about it?
So I don't know a ton about this. I haven't read the books, but apparently this Mortal Engines is based on a book series by this guy named Philip Reeve, who it was published in 2001, and it's about like giant city states that move and like prey on other smaller cities and all that. I think it looks kind of neat. Like the teaser that we got shows London chasing down this smaller like house and just devouring it. And I don't know what's happening, but I'm in.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I kind of want to read the books,
It's super steampunk. It's super like metal. What's that? Fury Road, that one movie.
Yes.
Where it has that sort of stylistic thing because it's all just dirt and road and all that. But it's like, I want to know a little bit more. I want to see what's going on with that. That just ate a whole little group of people, and it's like, well, there's London just taking over.
Are they alive? Are they dead? Like, I really don't know. It could go anyway, and that's what I think a teaser should be. It should, whet your appetite, make you want more.
Sure. And then we got the Ocean's 8 trailer, which also looks pretty good.
Which confusingly is not a prequel, just so we're clear.
But it's 8.
But I know.
But the movies have nothing to do, the titles have nothing to do with the sequence. It's the number of characters involved in the heist.
I know that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Fun
but
fact.
Spoiler alert.
So it was what? Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, Logan Lucky, Ocean's 8. So yeah, no.
It was merely coincidental though that it went 11, 12, 13. It was just a coincidence. It had nothing to do
pure coincidence. Absolutely.
12, which came out. You know what? I didn't like Ocean's 11. And I convinced myself that I'd like Ocean's 12, and I didn't. And I convinced myself that I wouldn't like Ocean's 13, and I didn't. So I really doubt very much that I will like Ocean's 8.
But it has you didn't like, they had a ton of actors, really good actors.
Which is why I thought I'd like it.
But Ocean's 8 has that too. It's, women, and it's going to be super funny. And
yay for women.
No.
Probably not going to like it still.
You're not going to like it? Dang it.
I mean, honestly, I saw the trailer, and my first thought was they're just doing this because it's women, and they want more women, and they're just... I like it. I can't wait for this. Once I got through the trailer, I was like, I'm sold. You've got me. I'm in.
I also can't stand Sandra Bullock.
What? She's beautiful still.
She really is. She hasn't aged a day.
She could be the most beautiful woman in the world. I can't stand her. She's obnoxious.
Yeah, but I mean, you're obnoxious too. So that's, I think that's why.
People don't like me. Haven't you been on the internet?
We heard this week. But
I was making fights with everybody this week.
Tim, you're like a lovable Jack Black.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
Really?
you're really obnoxious.
Like Adam
but
Devine?
I kind of like you.
I'm like Adam Devine.
You're like Adam Devine.
Adam
Like a lovable Jack Black.
Like a lovable Jack Black.
That's right. That's right.
Bumpa. I love you, Bumpa.
Did you see the Polka King trailer, Tim?
Oh God.
Polka King?
Polka King. The Jack
This
Black
John Candy from
Netflix.
Home Alone?
No, Jack
No.
Black.
The Polka King of the Midwest?
It
Polka,
is. Yes. Yes, it is.
Polka. That was a big hit for us. We sold about 180 copies of that. In Chicago, no, Sheboygan. Real big in Sheboygan.
No, it's the Polka King Netflix original movie, I think, with Jack Black. Has a few other people in it. That trailer also came out.
Sportsman, yeah.
Yeah, it looks funny enough.
He's going to sing then, right?
Yeah, of
Oh, yeah.
course.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime Jack Black is in a
He's
movie
full Jack
with me-
Black.
Yes, this is exciting. I
That
am
was
down for
actually
this.
that was actually on the Netflix contract. Is they're like, well, you have to go full Jack Black, and it's like,
Yeah.
well,
We're
all
hiring
right.
the full Jack Black.
the
You
Jack
never
Black
go full
special.
Jack Black.
The Monterey Jack Black, and he just gets fully naked. It's great.
Once you go Jack Black, you don't go back. So
You never go full Jack Black.
Yep. You guys have anything else for this week?
no, let's talk Star Wars. Oh, geez.
So, main topic. This week's main topic is, of course, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. We have seen the movie. Most of us at least once. I've seen it twice. I think Tim's seen it 3 times. Jules.
So I
heard of
watched
it?
it in 3D. I never watch movies in 3D, but this one, people still wanted to see it on Monday at 2 p.m. for some reason. So
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, okay. It was raining out, and I was like, okay, nobody's going to go to the movies. It was fucking packed. So I was like, I'll just go to the 3D one. Fucking love Star Wars in 3D. Oh my God. If you watch that opening scroll
Yep.
in 3D, it is ridiculous. So I highly recommend it. If you've seen it a few times, watch it in 3D because it is a little bit different experience.
Space
Yeah.
movies are made for 3D.
That's where
Yeah,
3D
I
should
enjoyed it.
shine. When they make
Mhm.
stupid chick flicks in 3D, there's no reason for it. When they make
No.
stupid little, small budget movies and whatever, and the only thing they spend money on is 3D, forget it. But space,
And it's been a long time since I actually watched a 3D movie, so they did a lot with how it looks. It looked a lot better now that it's in 3D. Like the resolution looks good. They had the trailers beforehand in 3D, so it was a whole experience. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm
when
actually
3D
kind of
is
happy
good,
with
it's
how
good.
I saw it last night at 10:15 p.m. in a theater that had 2 screens showing it at 10:15 p.m.
Wow.
And in my theater, there was probably close to 100 people in there. Like,
Jesus.
it's doing a thing. But I saw it in 2D last night. And obviously, Kevin and I were spoiled. The first 2 times I saw it in the 4th best IMAX theater in the country. And I forget sometimes how spoiled I am because I don't normally see a movie there and someplace else. It didn't even compare just from a visual standpoint. It was just so good in 3D, so good in that laser 4K. It looked amazing.
Wow.
Awesome.
So we're going to try and do some non-spoiler talk for as much as we can, probably about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm sure there's going to be a timestamp down there when we stop, and we'll let you know before we start talking about spoiler stuff, but we're going to give you our brief overview of the movie, not tell you any, main points about it yet, but then definitely we're going to get into a big talk, play some voicemails. We're going to tell everybody how we feel about this very decisive Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I guess
Or
I'll start
divisive.
it off. I think cinematically, it looked beautiful. I mean, it was just fantastic. The shots, it brings you into this world that you are accustomed to, but you still have many questions about.
Right. I mean, this is a world that we have a lot to build from because, if you're going to watch these, you should probably watch them by seeing Rogue One first, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and then go back and watch Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi.
Is there one more? No.
Nope.
No,
they never made it. It's weird. They skipped.
Oh, okay.
Episode 1. They started with episode 2. Well, they started with 4, but they went back to 2.
They went back to 2. It was so weird.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
The 1 never happened.
That's right.
And then you should definitely watch episode 7, episode 8. So there's so much to build on in this world, and we know so much about these characters, but within that still there's so many plot holes. But it's so groundbreaking, each one of them, every time they came out. So much green screen and CGI in the 2 prequels that they made. When we go back to the originals in the 70s, the shots that they made, they had to build whole new technologies to get this stuff out there. And this is sort of the almost 40-year culmination of all of that. And that's just amazing. I love it.
It's the combination of the two when we're talking about a visual standpoint. It's taking the best of what really worked tremendously well with the practical effects in the first one,
Yes.
because we forget these days how important and how effective practical effects can be. So it's taking the best of that and incorporating the best CGI that they can produce.
Yeah.
And I said it in my Tim's Movie Minutes. One of the things that I don't think is that controversial. This is the most beautiful space epic I've ever seen. From the way the shots in outer space were staged and the way that they look and the 3D to when he shoots on the planets, it's as good as a Western.
Oh yeah.
He uses the landscape, he uses the sky, he uses lighting. Ryan Johnson shoots the scenes on planets as if it's as good a Western as you'll ever see. It's just beautiful to look at.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
I agree completely. I think that this was, we're going to get a little more into the whole, special effects thing and spoilers, but I think that this was a great movie. I think this was just such a positive movie in unexpected ways. I think that's the best way to say it.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think we didn't know a whole lot about what was going on in the trailers. They didn't really show a whole lot. If you went in there blind, you didn't know where this was going to go. You kind of knew from the previous movie, but you didn't know what was going to happen. You knew about uh, Carrie Fisher. You didn't know what was going to happen there. There's a ton of story elements that we didn't know going in, and that's the way I prefer it. And everybody loves their, not spoiling it or spoiling it for everybody during Star Wars stuff. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I tried to look at it as if somebody, always try and look at it if somebody's just kind of walking in, because, I prefer certain things. We're nerds, so we prefer this kind of movie and we prefer Star Wars. But there was quite a bit of problems with like story stuff, and we'll get into that. But overall, it was like a pretty positive movie, and I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
despite some major problems that everybody on
Well,
the internet has.
so here's the thing, though. I want to get into that a little bit because I loved this movie. Like, I'm just, because usually in spoiler free, we give our opinions. I loved this movie. Don't take that to mean that I think it was a perfect movie,
No.
but
No.
none of the Star Wars movies are. So I
No.
think one thing that people need to do is they need to separate when they're watching this. If you really want to enjoy it, if you just want to pick it apart, that's fine. Go ahead and pick it apart. But if you want to enjoy this movie, you have to do a couple of things. You have to separate it from the movie that you wanted from the movie that you got. Because there's so many fans that are invested in their own theories, some that were hinted at in the last film, but some that were just kind of thrown out there and they've projected their own thing to it. And because their theories were crushed or this thing, what didn't happen the way they want, they're like, well, that story was garbage. Well, just because it's not the one that you wanted doesn't mean that it's garbage. The other thing is you have to separate this movie from the movies that you remember. The Star Wars movies, the grand tradition of the Star Wars movies is that they're a series of massive coincidences.
Sure.
Massive, this just happens to happen at just the right time. The trash
this
compactor stops just before we're going to get crushed.
And this
And-
continues.
Yeah, and the fact that, and I'm sure some Star Wars fan is going to try and give me a reason for this, the fact that Luke friggin' Skywalker grows up and lives with his aunt and uncle with the last name Skywalker, and his father, who knows that he's a threat, who's this great, powerful man with the Force, never finds him, never tries to find him, doesn't do any of that. Like, the beginning of your movie, guys, for all of you lovely Star Wars fans, myself included, the beginning of your movie is ridiculous. So let's move on from
his kids survived. He thought he killed them in the womb. It's, you know what, Tim, I can't even talk to you.
He's so great with the Force that he should have known those things. But this brings me to the other thing. If we're going to talk about Star Wars movies as films, and we're really going to critique them as films, the best of the bunch, in my mind, without a doubt, Rogue One. Rogue One had the fewest plot holes. It had the most cohesive story. It had the least amount of like fantastical coincidences. And what's one thing that doesn't exist in Rogue One?
Jedi?
The Force. Really, the
Well,
Force.
Well,
I know the guy's like, I'm one with the Force is with me, but nobody
Force be with you.
actively used the Force. The Force is what creates the problems in the Star Wars movies
Sure.
because it's not defined.
right.
People want to say, oh, they did this with the Force. That's so unbelievable. We don't know what the Force can do. It is never
It's everything.
defined for us.
It's all around us.
It is.
Exactly. So really, when someone does something with the Force, unless it's not something that they could possibly conceive of in nature, it can happen.
Yeah.
It's the
It's
best
all about
plot
the
device
person's
ever.
ability to connect with it and to put themselves into that being or that part of the universe to make it happen. The power of the Force is unlimited. So if you want to pretend like it is, then there's going to be problems with all the Star Wars movies. But if you let go and say the power of the Force is literally unlimited, if someone can tap into it, then there is no problems with how they use the Force because you can do anything with it.
It sort of is its own definition because they can just sort of hand wave away all of these criticisms because that's just how the Force works. You know, you want to talk about massive coincidence? That was the Force working through them.
That was
Exactly.
Disney.
And
waving
that's
its hand over.
fine.
They couldn't do that with Rotten Tomatoes scores, but
That I
they
think
did with everything
is
else.
some of the attraction of this, and I kind of get that.
It's why I love Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of like a space fantasy.
Sure.
It is really cool. We have 2 non-spoilery voicemails. I'd like to play one of them now.
Let's do it.
All right, let's see if we can cue this up.
Hey, nerdy boys. What's going on, guys? This is DJ Sauce 210. Saw Last Jedi, and, I was expecting more from the movie. Visually, the movie was spectacular, stunning. Took my son with me, and he thought it was the best Star Wars movie ever, you know what I mean? And I give it 3 out of 5 jalapenos. Keep up the good work, guys, and look forward listening to the podcast, man. Thanks. Bye.
Awesome. So we got a score of 3 out of 5 jalapenos from DJ Sauce 210, and a special shout out to you as well on Instagram. I know you're listening, so thanks for calling in. And he said he was disappointed with it. I think it's either split down the middle. Either you really loved it or you were disappointed in it, and I was trying to think outside of me as well as a nerd or whatever, and I was trying to think. Are people saying they liked it? Because a lot of people are saying they liked it. A lot of people are saying they don't like it. But are people saying they liked it because it was a good movie or because it's Star Wars and they think they should say that they like it? Now, that was a question I posed on Twitter. I got some talk from William as well, but it was just a good movie. I don't know. It didn't go the way we thought. Still non-spoiler talk, but this is, I don't know what any of us thought it was going to happen, but this went somewhere completely different. But we got to know that these characters need to set something up for later. This isn't just the 3 movies anymore that we've come accustomed to, or the prequels that need to end up somewhere else. This is going to expand to anywhere the next directors want, and that's what these new characters have to set up.
So I don't want to get all conspiracy theorist on this, but at the same time, I think what we're up against with this is that a lot of the people who saw it first and early are super fans of the movie because tickets have been sold out for the first couple of shows forever. And so early reactions coming out of this movie are from people who had expectations for what Star Wars is and what they want Star Wars to be. And so I think that with that in mind, we are seeing early reactions that aren't super positive. And I think that more and more people are going to see it and more people are going to have positive reactions to it. But in the meantime, I am seeing a lot of people that I know that I interact with, and I'm not saying this is everyone, but a lot of people are taking that negative reactions, and instead of continuing to be positive about what they liked, they're then saying, well, you know what? No, I didn't like it now because A, B, and C. it's okay to like something even if it was bad. It's okay to have something that you didn't like that was good. Have your own opinion, though.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah,
seriously, make your own opinion. And don't justify it. You don't have to spend 20 minutes fighting with me on Instagram or on Twitter or on the Facebooks, whatever kids use nowadays. Just have your opinion. You are right. So am I.
The internet is really good at giving you shit for your opinion and making you think that you're wrong, or, you know, it's herd mentality and all that stuff. But
right.
I mean, we shit on fucking Walking Dead all the time, but I'm sure somebody out there listening
so
watches
that's fine.
Okay, well, yeah, that thing is right. But I mean, I'm sure somebody out there, a ton of people like The Walking Dead, and that's totally cool. It's just our opinion, and we have a voice, and you're listening to us. So, ha ha ha, we're right. So,
right. I'm not saying I'm above it. I ignore episode 1. I get that, but I also have the benefit of having 20 years in the meantime, something like that, to have watched that movie, to have seen it, to realize that it's crap. Not 4 days. So,
right.
See it again.
And I think Jules said something, you know, is it a good movie or is it good because it's Star Wars and you want it to be good? And I think there is a difference between a good, I always use the word film when I want to be serious. There's a difference between a good film and a good, enjoyable movie. I don't think the Star Wars movies, and hate on me if you want, I don't think the Star Wars movies have ever been great film, but at least the original trilogy are really fun, great movies. It's all of the things that are wacky and weird and you can pick apart about it that I love about it. I love the Force. I love the lore. I've said this on this podcast 1,000 times. If you can combine magic and science, and now that there's a lot of science, technology, magic and technology, I love it. And I think this is, and just to get on Tim a little bit, as somebody who believes in God and is a man of faith, but also has a logical mind and understands that science can prove and disprove certain things in the world, this is where I think they can meet. I do think that's possible, and I think I project that into media that I enjoy. I love media that can have faith in something, but also, abide in a world of technology and facts and things of that nature too. So I love that about it. But none of these Star Wars movies are ever going to be great pieces of film, but they're enjoyable. And this one was as enjoyable, in my opinion, as any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very enjoyable. Anything else for non-spoiler talk?
Yeah, so I had one more non-spoiler voicemail we're going to play.
Hi, this is Andrew J. Young of the Lawful and Orderly podcast. And I think Star Wars The Last Jedi was fantastic. Without spoiling anything, it seems to justify the existence of so many wars among the stars, but also breaks the mold of the traditional Star Wars balance and archetypes. It has characters astounding for a Star Wars film, and it actually makes me really get into the character beyond their sort of like archetype and their sort of plot abilities. And I really, really enjoyed it, and I would watch it over and over again. So hope this helps. Bye.
Yeah, that's a great, I thought those sentiments were awesome because I agree with them. So that obviously makes them awesome. But yeah, the one thing was the character development. We'll get into this, but I think this particular movie did a better job of developing characters purposefully than most of the Star Wars movies, the way I saw it anyways.
I think for the second film and what's going to be a 3 trilogy sort of thing with these characters, it did well, and then at some times it didn't do well. So it did well, as he was saying, there was a lot of character development. That's kind of what you want to see in a second film, just more of these characters, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and kind of some more of their motives and what's going on in their head. And that was really good as a second film, and then some other stuff that we'll talk about later.
But that's pretty much all I have for non-spoiler talk.
Yeah.
See the movie, 20 out of 10, good movie, go see it.
I wouldn't say it's good at 20 out of 10.
Kind of anecdote thing.
Sure.
I've always been a big guy when it goes to like premiere movies. Since I've been married to my wife, I haven't seen as many of them because she doesn't like the big crowds and stuff. But that's fine. Like I've just always, in my youth especially, I've enjoyed going to movies when they first come out. When they used to do midnight releases, I miss those. I miss midnight releases because it's a whole other type of dedication to go to the movie at midnight than it is to go at 7:00 on a Wednesday or Thursday.
Sure.
So I've seen dozens of these movies on opening night. And I always kind of rank them in my mind. Where was this? And it has to do some of it with the movie, some of it with the particular crowd that I was at, the theater that I saw it, how they handled it. But I've seen all the Harry Potters, all the Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones. I mean, you name it, I've seen them. And I always said it was close, but I think my best theater going experience was when I was a kid and my dad took me and a friend to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, This Secret of the Ooze. Because
Nice.
the theater was comprised probably 2/3 of 10-year-olds, 1/3 of fathers. And Splinter shoots down that net with the turtles in there and saves the day. And everybody, it was like those old movies like you see of like the 20s where kids just go and hang from the rafters in the old movie houses.
Yeah.
Like that's what it was like. It was bananas. So that atmosphere was so enjoyable. And when I saw the last Harry Potter movie, they did, I think there was like 7 screens open for midnight. And then they did like 7 more screens at 2:30 because they couldn't, like, they just kept selling out. So I took a video of it afterwards, and it's 2:30 in the morning and there's people milling about this theater like it's the busiest Saturday they can imagine, in cloaks and stuff. And that was right up there. But
Nice.
seeing this movie last week, Kevin can attest to this. There's guys, behind us going, fuck yeah, when certain things happened and people are clapping and cheering. And after the movie, all the chatter was very positive. Like our theater, our crowd was very positive about this, and it was just a blast. So I would just say, if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen this, go when it's busy and just have fun. Just enjoy.
Sure.
Whether you end up thinking it's good or not, go in and just have a good time with it.
You just talking about that right now made me realize why I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man now, because I saw Spider-Man 2 like opening day, and that was when it was a huge crowd, and that was the first time I've ever done that. So I think
knew
we
there
figured
had
it
to be
out.
an explanation that wasn't Tobey Maguire.
I think we figured it out because
So
everybody
perfect.
was cheering, everybody was going crazy.
So we're actually going
Yeah.
to change the shirt on our site from Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man to crowded movie theaters are my jam.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's a great T-shirt. I love that. Let's do that one.
All right.
I love
That's
it.
all.
Well,
That's it.
we got to do it before this comes out because then somebody else is going to make it. But
Not a
yes,
problem.
we're going to do it.
I'm on it.
Anyways, okay. So non-spoiler talk's over. We're going to talk some spoilers. We're going to talk some story and some characters. Go see it if you haven't. Go see it in 3D. My personal recommendation. But I think the general consensus was that we enjoyed the movie, and we're going to pick it apart a little bit going forward.
I got to get
Yeah.
out my 500 pages of notes now.
Sure. Just make sure to go to nerdthingspod.com for all our stuff, Patreon, merch, YouTube, this things in video. Go watch us do all that stuff.
Yeah. So I thought we'd start this off, spoilers, with another voicemail that we got that is sort of general, doesn't really touch on any of the major topics, but I thought it would be a nice way.
Hey yo, it's Tim Zinn here, your biggest Aussie fan. Literally just got out of watching Star Wars with my Aussie nerdy crew and loved it. Still love it the second time, so good. Laura Dern's character was amazing. Every scene with General Leia just brought a tear to my eye. The epic team up in the middle, so good. And that twist at the end was like, totally saw it coming. And those ice doggos, I need me one of those. I need an ice doggo today. Hey, can't wait to hear what you guys think. See ya.
All the way from Australia. Wow.
That's Tim Zinn. That's Timothy _ Zinn on Instagram. One of our more active Instagram followers, getting at us from Australia. So thanks for that, Tim.
And
Appreciate it.
he just got a Nintendo Switch because we talk about it so much. He put a picture up and it said thanks to the Nerdy Boys, and he has a Nintendo Switch. So hopefully Kevin and Tim will be giving you their friend codes or whatever, their Nintendo IDs, so y'all
I
can
was
play
thinking that, Kev.
all the way
We
from
got
Australia.
time
No
for
problem.
Tim, and we'll get a Mario Kart game going or something
Perfect.
like that.
There you go. That's
I can
awesome.
work
Thank
that
you
out.
so much for
Can make
calling
that
in.
happen.
That was great.
Awesome.
But yeah, general consensus, just like him, it was all great. You saw Carrie Fisher, and it was just interesting. I mean, the one moment that did kind of stick out to me was with her and Kylo Ren when they're kind of looking at each other facing there, and that did bring some emotions, and that was a very interesting scene for me. Generally, it
Let's
was
start
all
off
really
with
good.
that first.
Yeah,
let's
we
just
can start
go
from the beginning. Sure.
because that first battle scene was probably the best or my favorite battle scene in all the Star Wars movies.
Yes.
So cool.
Super good in 3D. It was fantastic. Just right in the opening scene, we had the scroll, and then it just starts going, and I'm like, oh man, they're starting this movie out with a bang.
I'm glad it didn't start off with a Star Destroyer entering the screen like all of the other movies.
Every other one.
I'm glad we did that with, I think it was
We got
Rogue
away
One.
from that.
Good, fine, perfect. This movie picks up apparently seconds after the last movie ended in every way. Like, they're evacuating the same planet they were on. They're trying to get away. Like, no time has passed. They are the last of the last because the government was blown up in the last movie. It's just desperate. Like, you could feel it. I loved it. It was so good.
One of the things that they've done with these modern Star Wars movies, Rogue One, Last Jedi, and this, is that they're called Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the first movies felt more like Star Fun battles. This really makes you feel very much like Rogue One did, that this is a war. There's casualties. There are people dying for this cause or against this cause or whatever. But they really hit you with, like in the bomber scene, where the I don't know Rose's sister's name. We're going to call her Rose's sister, where she falls down, she gets knocked out, and she wakes up, and they do that close up, and she opens her eye. That's straight out of any World War II movie. Like, that is World War II.
Like,
that is, a war movie like type shot. That is exactly what that is, and that's how they film that scene. Like, this is real. This is consequences to what's happening here.
But it did almost immediately take me out of it because she was out in open space, and in order for the bombs to drop, they needed gravity somehow.
You do know that there are force fields in this world. Like, that's the explanation for it. That's
okay. I know, but like I didn't visually, as a person that wouldn't know that, I didn't see that.
And we'll get into this a little later. We've already seen in the Star Wars universe people surviving an open vacuum.
I know.
Without any sort of suit.
And we saw it later on in the movie.
It's
the science of space and gravity has never played into the Star Wars movies.
I'm playing devil's advocate here because it did kind of take me out of it. The bomb with the bombs with the gravity just falling straight down. I was like, okay, it's another Star Wars thing. That's kind of why I keep going back to, is it good because it's Star Wars? And it's like, I guess, I mean, we're just going to let that fly because it's Star Wars, of course. And any other movie that did that, no, but we already know from what it's set up that that's okay. And like, for me as a person, I'm like, that's kind of wrong. I mean, as like 26-year-old person,
have always set up a precedent where it's like there is an in-universe explanation for it.
For
That is why Star Wars has some of the richest backstory. Like, I have a whole bookcase to my right here dedicated to just Star Wars memorabilia, books and books and books and books and books. And it's all just information. So you don't need that information, but it's a sci-fi thing. They've established some rules. They have their own gravity that they can make for the ships. Who's to say they didn't put that at the bottom to pull the bombs out? And then once they're beyond the ship, they just keep going. You know, same thing with the force
Or that
field.
the ship is so large,
all
that
there.
dreadnought is so large that when you're that
It
close,
has
it
its
creates
own
gravity.
its own
I mean,
gravity.
who's to say?
Yeah.
Or that there's not an artificial gravity out there so that the gunners can get into their gun stations or do repairs. I mean, any of
That's
these
exactly
things
it.
are possible. That's what's, again, you can say it's because it's Star Wars, but it is because it's Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's
got this
yeah.
stuff where they can kind of do whatever they want, and that's why I don't like to pick apart these movies, because I think about in that moment, I didn't think about gravity or not gravity. I was thinking about what I was feeling, and I was feeling that girl was being a hero.
Right.
That's all I was thinking was, oh my gosh, that woman is being a hero.
Right. These are not the plot holes you're looking for.
Right.
You know, I heard someone list that the bombs shouldn't have been armed before they left the bay. And
there shouldn't be a button switch. There should be a button switch on the bottom.
But
right.
I mean, this isn't how this was supposed to have gone down. There should never have been a button switch at the bottom, because there should never be someone at the bottom.
Yeah.
There's the control at the top. There's a remote for it. Who's to say there isn't another button up there? There definitely is. You have a remote button. That's fine. That's the one she could get to. And we saw someone else take the remote
with a button on the earpiece.
that.
I mean, there's a million other ways that this could have occurred.
She was a gunner. The bomber and the pilot were killed. She climbed up the ladder. Like, there's so many ways around that. That's part of the story.
Yeah.
It's fine. Even, you know, the ship crashing into the big cruiser, same thing Tim just said. There could be gravity pulling that down. I think the biggest plot hole for this, and again, it can be hand waved away, is there are only like 400 people in the Resistance left alive. Don't attack this ship if you're going to lose 12 people. Run away.
That's Poe's mistake, man.
But it's totally Poe's mistake, and that builds his character. That is his arc. I am 100% with that. Exactly.
Right. Like 100%.
And he is probably thinking along the lines of, yes, we're the last 400 that we know of. Because the whole point of this was to get out and get the message out to their allies that he thinks they have. But
later we see.
They apparently don't.
Yeah.
And he probably also thinks that if there's only 400 of us, that ship can take out all 400 at once if we give it a second chance. Right. So if we can lose 12, and he's not 100% wrong either.
He's not.
It's probably maybe not the wisest move, but who knows? But so they set the tone, I think, in this first scene in two ways. One, the whole war, the heaviness of that, but right off the bat, that it was going to be a different movie from a humor standpoint. Because when we first started this scene, it was with a prank phone call. In Star Wars, it was a prank phone call,
and it was really, it was really entertaining and comedic. But I don't think the whole first act was as comedic as some people say it was, or it wasn't trying to be as funny as a lot of people said it was. Everybody's like, "Whoa, they're making Star Wars a comedy now." It's like, just like entertaining. It was just like a little bit of entertaining stuff. It wasn't like completely crazy. I mean, the prank phone call was pretty funny. That was like the funniest part, but like there's nothing like to make it a comedy movie. And that was a lot of people were saying stuff like that. And it's like, all these are kind of quirky. They're not as you remember them.
All of the Star Wars movies, right? No, the Star Wars movies are different than I think a lot of people remember at first blush. And I think that every time a Star Wars movie comes out, it is reflective of the environment that the movie came out in. And I think that that's what it should be. The prequels are not the original movies. I don't like them, but they weren't necessarily geared as much at me as the original movies. These movies, 7, 8, and 9, I think are geared more at me. I think these are looking at the people who are fans of Star Wars and saying, we're going to make a movie for them. Where I think the prequels said, we are going to make a movie to bring more people to Star Wars. And so it was geared at a younger crowd.
Definitely. And I think, I don't know if I said it, but I think for sure that episode 1, the movie that was never made, was my very first Star Wars movie when I was a kid. And that was like, I was totally in it because it was geared towards that age group I was in, and it's like it brought me into this whole thing. And then I eventually learned that it's not a good movie, and I saw the originals and whatever, all that stuff. But Episode 1 was my first Star Wars movie, and for the time it was good, and for the time that I'm in right now, the time that we're in, this one is a good movie.
Yeah.
So
right, and this first scene, really, what its biggest intent is to set up Poe's character. All
Right.
of the aspects of Poe's character, because let's be honest, based on what we're left with at the end, Poe is likely to be the leader of the Resistance after this.
yeah.
We'll
Because
talk more
we
about
don't
that.
know what
We're
they're
gonna
going to do with Leia because, of obvious outside of Star Wars circumstances, but we'll get there. But he's probably going to be the leader of the Resistance. So they're really growing his character throughout this whole movie. So in this scene, we see his recklessness. We see the fact that he's a wise ass. That's what the whole, prank call thing was. But we also see that this guy is a ridiculously talented pilot. When he does that whole thing where he's shooting down the gunner stations and then pulls that little shifter thing, does a Tokyo drift, friggin' 360
in the sky,
do more, and then I've never seen anybody do anything like that with an X-wing. Luke Skywalker included. It was freaking so cool. It was awesome.
He braced himself, and then you could just see him lean into it, and
BB-8
it was so good. Oh yeah, BB-8's head
tucked in.
going back. Really awesome stuff. And I think you're right. It shows him as not just a prankster and a good pilot, but as a strategist. This was his strategy. Right. He was the one that convinced Leia to do this. She didn't want to. She gave him a chance to shine, and he disappointed her in some ways. Great. That's a good story. It worked out poorly for them, but it gave everybody a chance to escape. They did take down the I think it was a Dreadnought class cruiser. Yeah. So it was a win with plenty of losses. I thought it was such a cutting remark when she was like, there were plenty of heroes out there, dead heroes, no leaders. And it was like,
because
and he's a strategist here, but his strategy at this point in the movie is blow crap up.
Right.
Not let's think about, how can I do the biggest, most impressive thing, not how can I do what's best for the Resistance as a whole.
And then that line that Leia says about the dead heroes and stuff really cuts to him, and that shows that he's gonna learn from it, sort of, and then going forward some more later on that we'll talk about. That's definitely signs of him growing up to be a leader in some way, and it's really interesting. I'm really interested in his story arc. Who going forward, where does this go next? It goes back to the scene.
What we've talked about, that first battle, that's sort of the catalyst that sets everything in motion. So I'd like to pick it apart by groupings of people from here and touch on it. So we get a little bit of interaction between the guys on the ship as they're escaping. We have everybody jumps to light speed. They come out of light speed. It's 4 or 5 ships. I think it's actually 3 big ships by the time they get there. But the Empire shows up, or the First Order shows up, and they can't figure out how they were being tracked. And you have an attack by Kylo Ren on the ship, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. But Poe and Finn come up with a way to try to save everybody. And so Finn, the new character they introduced, Rose, and BB-8 go off on an adventure. And that's what I'd like to talk about first, is sort of that adventure. What not necessarily what gets us to that, which we'll touch on in other parts, but that on its own. So we were just talking about Poe blowing things up, and that's when this line comes back, and they're presenting to him, we have a way to fix this. We're being tracked by the lead ship, and Poe just goes, so let's blow it up. And he hasn't learned yet.
No.
Still in that jock, America mentality.
Sure.
And I loved that, because it was such a knee-jerk reaction for him. It's like, we have this problem, and the answer is blow it up. And Finn just very calmly is like, no, we're going to do it a different way.
We've got a smarter way.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some wisdom in Finn immediately.
And also it's Poe learning how to, maybe I can leverage other people's strengths, not
Right.
just my own, which is kind of what a leader does. So
Exactly. And so he has a little bit of growth there, and then
Right.
immediately backslides by not telling anybody any of this.
Nope.
And he decides
Well,
he's smarter than all of them.
So getting to this point here, just when Finn and Rose first meet each other,
Mhm.
that's an interesting scene for me because it kind of sets up a journey that Finn goes on throughout the movie.
Yes.
Finn's first reaction is not to help the Resistance. It's certainly not to help the First Order. It's to help himself and the person at that time that he cares the most about, Rey.
Right. Yeah.
He's still, this movie, all the Star Wars movies exist in light and dark, right?
Yeah.
He's in the gray somewhere at this point. He's not attached to either side. He's like, I don't really care, because he wasn't grown up in that culture. He was
Right.
raised to do one thing, mop the floors for the First Order. So he's learning life. Now, Rose, on the other hand, when she first meets him, she recognizes him as a hero of the Resistance. And he's like, no. I'm no hero of the Resistance. Don't assign that to me. But she talks about her conversation with her sister where she is black and white as it gets. She assigns everything to right and wrong, the light and the dark. And she is 100% in the light. She will always make the decision that is the best for the good guys. And that's kind of where their journey starts, where she's trying to show him, I almost think, the right way. And they bond through tech and their knowledge of this kind of stuff. And that's how they end up, with Poe with this plan.
She immediately tases a hero of the
Yeah.
Resistance. She can't even talk to him because she's starstruck. And yet she's like, I have tased 8 people or whatever it is. And then she just jams it in and tases him immediately.
I think on the scale, she's
very often.
Yeah, I think she's a chaotic good. I think we're going with that. I think of this character, because she's just gonna choose the right thing, and that was another comedic moment, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And they did that
I can't
well.
feel my teeth.
Yeah.
What did you do to me? I can't feel my teeth.
And then when he's trying to like hide his stuff, he's like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah. And if you're paying attention, they actually edited that so that his bag jumps from the door to the seat without him ever putting it in there.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
There you
I'm
go.
sorry. I see.
It was the Force. So
it was. It was. He forced it.
But oh shit, I had something. I was gonna go with it. Never mind.
So yeah, they talk about how they're being tracked through hyperspace. That's how they decide that they're going to save everybody. We actually, if you're paying attention in Rogue One, when Jinn is going through the computer, she mentions that the Empire has been researching tracking through hyperspace. So this is something that's been like 30 years in the making for the Empire, or for the First Order, for whoever who owns that stuff now, because all of that information was there on that planet in the Imperial computers. So someone was working on it somewhere. Some of that research was destroyed, yes, but not all of it.
Yeah.
So
can I finally get it.
Because I love most of this movie. People are going to get at me for being too positive. How does Poe know Maz? Where does she fit in all of this? It's just to bring her back so it doesn't look like they just created her out of nothing in the last movie.
Yes.
Where does this come from?
I don't know. I'm not sure if there's more in the comics or more in the books. I've stopped reading Star Wars books since they took all of the books that I own and said, "Oh, those never happened." So I just can't do it right now. But I'm not sure if Maz is in the comics or in the books or in any of the other expanded stuff. Jules, what do you got?
Before that, I was gonna say how Tim was mentioning that a lot of people, or she was Finn's in the gray area, and I was gonna say we see a lot of that in this movie, especially with like Kylo Ren. He's kind of in the gray as well. So I think this movie is definitely unsure of where the Force is, because the Force needs to be balanced. It is a lot of unbalanced, and we have a lot of unbalanced characters that is good for a second movie, and that's where that excels. And Maz, I'm looking up right now. It doesn't say where.
So
his first appearance was just in The Force Awakens.
Just off topic, another Jedi that was in the gray was Qui-Gon Jinn, because Liam Neeson was in the movie The Gray. So I'm pretty sure that tracks.
Wow, Kevin.
Yeah.
I like Qui-Gon Jinn. He was good.
But no, you're not wrong. I mean, so he is, sort of middle-ish there. This is a story about that sort of mid-road, your choices matter type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, no question about it. So we're going to keep on with Finn's journey and Rose's journey, right?
Right.
That's where we're okay.
Is that going to lead to the planet?
So now they leave to go find the code breaker.
The
master code breaker.
Master code breaker.
Who's apparently done stuff with Maz, which
because
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, I mean there are a couple of instances in this where people shouldn't know things that they know.
Which again is another. I'm play devil's advocate because I know a lot of people are going to get mad if we don't be objective. But why are they? I mean, why is this one part is the only thing that tracks the ships whenever they go to hyperspeed?
Well, actually,
whatever.
So there's a couple of theories. I read something on Reddit the other day that it's possible that that ship, that machine was doing something to keep a hyperspace window open so that they could then track the ships along that. And it might be really resource intensive or power intensive. And so there's no reason to have multiple ships.
More than one. Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. Again, there's plenty of ways to explain this.
Yeah.
And they don't always have to. This is, I think, a lot of the problem with Star Wars. I've said this to Tim in person. I think a lot of what Star Wars does right is building up myths and leaving things to the imagination. But I think a lot of what Star Wars does wrong is then showing people those things that they imagined.
Yeah.
I think one of the worst things Star Wars has ever done is show the creation of Darth Vader in detail, because I think it was so much better in the minds of the fans before we saw it. I think he was much better as an angsty teenager in our minds than as Hayden Christensen. And I think that we don't need that. And this is just something we can hand wave away.
Sure. And the other thing is that the Star Wars universe is in the hands of so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, George Lucas created it, but he didn't define it. That was his first mistake. And we know he's a concept guy. We've talked about this before. So he had this great concept, but he didn't define the parameters. And then he handed it off to all these other people who have put their own spin on it. If you look at some of what are considered some of the great movies in fantasy, J.K. Rowling owns the Harry Potter universe. Nothing happens without her permission. And she very clearly in her own mind defined what magic was capable of doing and what magic was not capable of doing. And it had its own certain set of physics. And Tolkien did the same thing. He set his own boundaries to what was and wasn't possible in his world. But George Lucas never did that. So that makes the Star Wars universe, by definition, a mess. So that's why you can't focus on that stuff. You just can't. Otherwise, you're going to pick apart all of it. And it's just, you got to decide. I'm either going to enjoy it or I'm going to pick it apart, one or the other. You can't do both.
Sure. I think Alistair from Bite Size Lemons said on an Instagram thing that this could not be even considered canonical just because of how it was.
I'm sorry to anybody that says that. I've got to point out things like the book Splinter of a Mind's Eye by Alan Dean Foster that came out before The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, in which Luke and Leia were totally getting it on. And Grand Moff Tarkin was totally Vader's boss and not the other way around. Like, no, folks. Just move on. There's worse things in the Star Wars universe than this movie.
So Alistair said this movie is completely inconsistent with the Force, some forced humor, in quotes, and hardly functions as canon. But I enjoyed it as a movie, just not as a Star Wars movie. And I would look at it totally the reverse. I enjoy it as a Star Wars movie,
not as a film.
All of those things, but as a film, I would have been much more critical of it. And to say that it's inconsistent with the Force, that's just the point that I just made. There is no consistency in the Force.
No, I don't think there ever was. Let's keep on with this. Finn's story, and they're off to, I don't know what the planet's called, but this casino land in
Canto Bight.
Super fun. Canto Bight. Super fun stuff going on there. And
Yeah.
And they get arrested for a parking violation.
Yeah, which is
let's start with that.
Which is stupid.
I mean,
totally
super relatable.
So in character. They're just so excited and so naive. And then they try to find the guy and they just have that bright-eyed, like, we're going to save the resistance look on their face.
Yeah.
There he is. And it's even that, like, over-the-top, almost vaudevillian, like, and
and the character that was the code breaker looks so good, too good to be true.
Such a smarmy little prick.
Such a character, and it's like, yes, this guy's the guy, and he has that white stripe of hair, and he looks really good. He's in a nice suit. He has the women,
got a good voice, like everything.
Yeah, he's the token like hero, and it's like, all right, this hero's gonna save the day.
And then they're arrested and thrown in jail with DJ. And BB-8 is chucked out on his ass, and
with a bunch of coins.
The coins
were playing him as a slot machine.
That was pretty funny.
That was the greatest.
They're complaining to each other, and then Benicio del Toro, who plays a character whose nickname is DJ, which stands for "Don't Join." Which, if you know Arbrash, the Star Wars language, that's what his little plate on his hat says. It says "Don't join." And he tells Finn,
looks like Johnny Knoxville too.
Yeah, he did.
Looked
Did
a
you
lot
pick
like
that out?
Johnny Knoxville.
For the first 4 minutes, I needed him to speak more because I was trying to convince myself that it wasn't Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
I'm like, that stutter, that doesn't seem like something that Johnny Knoxville is capable of. But it looked so much like him. And it
for sure.
looked a lot like Benicio del Toro until they got out into some better light. But that was weird for me. I'm looking, I'm like, it was peculiar.
Super interesting character. Brings like again, I think another gray character because of what he says and a lot of the things that he talks about. We see sort of a side that we haven't seen from Star Wars, at least in a little while, where it's just like, hey, I'm on both sides. I'm playing both sides.
Chaotic neutral.
All these people.
The Lando Calrissian character, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what this guy's doing. Okay, he sold weapons to good guys. Okay, but he sold the weapons to the bad guys too. And it's like, oh shit, like this world is not what, I'm thinking. And this is a lot more corrupt and more relatable than I would have thought. So he brings a lot to the character.
This movie did that a couple of times where it'll show you something and tell you something, and then it'll show you and tell you something completely different. And it's the same thing, just flipped on its head.
Right.
I loved that. That was one of the main
really
things of this movie.
And it's the first time this whole island scene, and also him talking to Finn. This is one of the first times in the Star Wars movies that we're taken out of the bubble. So these movies exist in the bubble of the good guys,
of the Skywalkers,
bad guys.
Yeah,
we don't see the real life that there's all these planets out there that people live in a real world. And there's commerce, and there's money to be made from war, and that this is real life, and that there's people that their life is affected by the Star Wars, and not just for the sake of saving the light side or saving the dark side or good and evil, but that they live a regular real life away from all of that, and that they stand to benefit or gain or not from how that goes. And this is, again, another one where he's explaining to Finn, almost talking Finn into the gray area, saying, hey, people aren't just good or bad. Those are made up terms. This guy's selling weapons to both sides, bud. So you know what? Don't get caught up in the whole light and dark thing. He's
Right.
the anti-Rose.
Don't
here,
join.
Don't join in, pal. Just do your own thing, which is tempting Finn. You can see it on his face, and you can see it when he sees the extravagance of the casino. He's like, no, man, I want to be part of this world.
Yeah.
This is where I want to live.
Like takes off, and he's like, oh
Yeah, he's seeing the highlights of it, and then they meet the kids in the stables downstairs
Newsies.
that are being whipped. Yeah, the Newsies, Oliver Twist and the Newsies.
extra.
You know what? This is something that a lot of people that watch this movie that have complained about is when they meet that kid and Rose shows the ring that she's wearing that has the symbol of the Resistance. And that's all it is. It's not, everybody keeps calling it a decoder ring because I think they think they're being snarky. Sorry, William. That was one of the things William sent me a text complaining about.
A lot. A text, an email.
It's now really a comedy. It's really sad that Carrie is gone, and he would have liked to see more of her story arc, and the secret Dakota rings. And why didn't these idiots just talk to each other? All of those are reasons this movie exists. The secret Dakota ring wasn't a Dakota ring. It was a symbol. It was a bauble. And she gave it to a small child as payment for helping them out. That is the world to this child. Mm-hmm. This kid has never been given a gift except for being whipped. So I thought it fit perfectly.
Sure. It could have been anything. It didn't even have to be a ring. That's what we're saying.
It could have been a zipper.
It could have been like a little fanny pack with the resistance symbol on it. It doesn't matter. That it just symbolizes something bigger, and it's not the ring that matters. What can it do? Well, does he have the force with it now, or whatever that we see later on, or the arguments that people are having? It's just the symbolizing this, symbolizing the resistance, and symbolizing
not special. He's just a person, but every person is special.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Holdo says, one of her famous lines, because I have issues with the Holdo character, and we'll get into that when we do a different part of it. What's that?
Hodor,
or whatever.
I'm just kidding. No, that's from Game of Thrones. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't do those. So I had issues with the Holdo character. We'll get into that, but she does kind of give the key theme going forward. She's the one who talks about the spark that lights the fire of the rebellion. You guys hearing my dog in the background?
A little bit. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know. The spark that lights the fire of the rebellion, and that's going to be their rallying cry going forward. But this is how you do it. You reach these people who are in the outskirts and who the supposed bad guys have been keeping them down, and you do something for them, and you give them something to pass that info on. And that's what this ring is. The ring is hidden. It looks like a regular ring, so you can wear it out in public and be in disguise. But when you're around the right people, you're like, "Hey, I'm part of the resistance." And it's
sort of that perfect grassroots
that kid. Absolutely, 100%. So that was key. And if nothing else, people say that this Finn Rose storyline is a throwaway thing. If nothing else, this is why it exists. I think this is literally setting up the next movie.
And I think the failure that they experienced, because we know from the rest of this movie that was the point of the movie. It was the failure. It was learning from that failure. Because they get back, they get captured. It's a whole thing because they get just noticed by BB9E, and then DJ sells them out to the First Order, and apparently sells out the rebels or the resistance or whatever they are.
Yeah.
With information he shouldn't have had. How does he know that they're escaping in the life pods? He doesn't. He has no idea. No one told him.
Took a chance.
Rose didn't know. Took a chance. How the hell would he guess that? No.
Didn't Poe say that on the long distance walkie-talkie, for lack of a better term? When DJ was picking the lock, he says, "Hey, they're escaping on the." Didn't he say they were escaping on the pods? We're almost out of time here.
Fueling up the pods. Maybe you're right.
Right.
Maybe.
So
perfect.
So that's
I'm pretty sure he knew that.
So a lot of people were talking about how he shouldn't have known that. So, boom, you've solved it. Thank you, Tim. You win.
Solved the pod puzzle.
Yeah.
All right.
So are we gonna talk about here what happens to Finn and Rose? Or are we gonna save it for when the whole
now? So let's go back. No,
they fight with
Phasma.
Phasma. She dies again, second time, because she was left in the trash compactor on the planet that exploded. Now she fell into fire. Mm-hmm. If she doesn't come back as a clone in the third one, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah.
And there's a key line here that they've been building up to the whole movie, and it's a big turning point in this Finn character. She looks at him after he baseball bats her on the head from coming back to life on that, again, lucky coincidence, grand Star Wars tradition, falls off the cliff onto a lifting platform somehow, and then just hits a home run into her face. He looks it up. "You've always been scum." And he says, "Rebel scum."
Rebel scum.
Yep. He, at that moment, has decided, I am taking ownership. I am part of the rebellion. I am choosing the light over the dark, over the gray. That guy that lives in the gray area just double-crossed me, that asshole. I am rebel scum. So that's a big thing for Finn to now become invested in this fight, in that side.
Which I don't think a lot of people would have picked up if you weren't like seeing these characters. I don't think like on a first view you would have understood that, or if you weren't paying close attention you wouldn't. I mean, they made it seem like a big line, but you know, if you kind of weren't looking at these characters in that sort of way, you probably would have missed that. But that was super cool. And wasn't Phasma supposed to be a thing? I mean, I know William had some words about it, but wasn't she supposed to be? It just seems like she just keeps getting fucking dealt with.
She does. She just keeps dying. We never see her face. Why is it Gwendolyn Christie? What difference does it matter if she's a woman? Like, none of this matters. If you're gonna, fine. I can name 12 people. You know, it doesn't seem to matter, and it should. But then they meet back up with everybody, and we'll get back to Rose and Finn at the end of this.
Sure, let's get another storyline. Which one? So
we had Rey, Luke, and Kylo coming up in the other, and Snoke for a lesser extent. You know, we have Rey meeting Luke, and with what Luke does, and just done. We're done here. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Throws the lightsaber. Oh man.
Coming.
I was like, and again, coincidence, it's still on the island, because I was like, well, it's in the water. It's gone.
Force. It's the Force.
It's the Force. Yeah. He kept it on. He kept it on the island, just, you know, for that.
So this to me right here is kind of a theme in this movie, but like a behind the scenes thing where Rian Johnson goes, haha, JJ.
Oh man, he does that
what I did.
all the time. Yeah.
So like right in the beginning of the movie when they destroy the base that they were all trying to get to in the first one, it's kind of like, haha, JJ, wreck that. And then the whole, like Kevin and I talked about, people were saying there's continuity issues, but like with the timing between the two movies, and it's like, no, we literally pick up right where we left off, except for the fact that it took 20 minutes for Rey to hand Luke the lightsaber in the end of the first movie, and it took 30 seconds in this one, and he just takes it and tosses it, and it's again, haha, JJ, what are you gonna do with that, buddy? You know, He makes this big moment out of it in the first one, and then we're just going to throw this away. I don't want to talk to you. And he goes into his little hut and hermits himself.
Yep.
And we see him, you know, at this Jedi temple. That's what it's called, right? The island. He's at the
first Jedi temple.
End of the most hardest place to find or whatever. And you see him just living his life and just trying to go on. He kind of disassociated himself from the Force, and that's what he says. He just wants to, he came there to die. And really, how does that make you feel? Because y'all kind of grew up with this character and this Luke Skywalker character, and now you're seeing him older and kind of done, and he's looking back at all his mistakes, and I that's like a lot. I think, and that's a lot of character development that y'all have seen. And it's just like, wow, this guy's not the guy anymore. You know, that's kind of what I got.
Poor job of dying. Like if he came here to die,
sure.
Stop eating.
I mean, drinking nipple juice and having
like that was just
150 feet up. That seems nutritious. I don't know.
I guess that's it's very paleo, very very good.
Not for me.
I mean, honestly, it was good. Like this is a movie, it really subverts expectations. You expected Luke to be wise and to save the resistance and to, be powerful, but to have him be cut off, to have him be stuck in his ways, and to have him refuse to help was just like a knife in the gut, and it made the movie that much better because of it. He's not going to train Rey. He's not going to come with her. He's upset that Han died because he didn't know, because he's cut off from the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hasn't felt Leia's pain. He's just, it was good. Like it explains why he didn't come running when anybody was in trouble prior to this, is because he's just kind of given up, and he's hiding here because he can.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes you wonder too, because a big theme in this movie, and part of it's coming from Luke, is, the old ways need to die. We need to kill off the Jedi because the Jedi think that they own the light and nobody really owns the light, which is an astute observation. I mean, he explains to Rey very concisely that nobody owns the Force. The Force is out there. Nobody owns it. No one side owns it. It's there for people to do with it what they will. So you need to do, what's best for it. But that the Jedi create this battle between two sides as opposed to everybody just wanting to, embrace the Force. But you wonder, they make you kind of think that realization came in his mind after Kylo turned, because he talks about how scared he was of his power and of her power. Kylo agrees. We see this later on. Kylo agrees. So you wonder if this was something that was seeping into Luke's mind before, and it was infusing itself into his training of the younger Jedi, because Kylo really echoes Luke's sentiments, just he's on the other side. He thinks that it all needs to blow up. That's interesting. It may even be that Snoke was influencing him and sort of working towards that. That'd be interesting to explore. But we talked a little bit about the sort of different points of view in this, and that is sort of what we really get. You touched on him, confronting Ben before he was Kylo Ren, and we see that scene 3 different times in this movie in 3 different lights. We get the story originally from Luke about how he went there to confront Ben, and he was just struck down, and then Ben burned his school and killed his students. And it's like, wow, I'm so sorry. That's so bad. And then you get Kylo's version when he's connected to Rey and the Force, and he's talking about how Luke was there to just murder him, and he defended himself, and he saved the students that could be saved and burnt the place down. And then you kind of get like the truth from Luke, and who knows if it's still the truth, when he went there to kill Ben and had so much shame, but was caught. And then, Ben reacted to it. And it's just like, it's so powerful to have that tug of war going on with the emotions. Yes, good. Yes, bad. Yes, good. Maybe evil. I don't know. Like, I thought it made the movie that much sweeter. Well, it shows that what Luke is saying is true. Is, if you're looking at everything from your own perspective and you're either the light or the dark, the truth really does exist in the middle, in the balance, because what you see is, first you see Luke's justification, which is somewhat a fabrication, but then you see Luke's truth. That is his truth of how it happened. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. And you also see Kylo's truth. That is his truth of what happens. Perception becomes people's reality. And in Star Wars, really what you have a fight of 2 sides. My perception is that I'm right, and my perception is that I'm right. And that's where this whole battle exists. So that just kind of illustrates that, that 2 people can see the exact same incident in 2 different ways, and it can affect the entire outcome of their life from that. Right. So it's an interesting illustration. I've got a voicemail I want to play from Tristan Miller.
Hello, this is Tristan Miller with Wayward Wordsmiths Productions, and I'm responding to talk about The Last Jedi. I like it a lot. It's very good, and it's very different. The theming of the film is incredibly impactful of what it says about morality, how there are shades of good and bad, and the choices we make as people. And it says a lot about how we are as humans, and then also how we communicate with each other. The crux of the matter is he's made a very fine film that talks about morality. It talks about humanity and accepting failure and accepting the choices that you make as a person. In the example of Kylo Ren, Ben Solo is constantly choosing to be a morally, opposed to what we would call good. He's constantly choosing to be that rather than it being part of his nature. This is also a very similar choice that Rey faces, and she is unsure about through the course of the film, and by the end of it, she makes her choice, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Yeah, a lot of grayness in these 2 main characters, this Reylo ship, as everybody's shipping. These 2 characters bound by the Force and a little bit help from Snoke, but that's how they're trying to figure it out. We see them making choices, and it's really interesting, and I love this character development between these 2 and how it How it ends, I don't know, man. It's
anybody's guess.
Yeah.
I don't think they know. But I loved the mystery behind why they were connected in the Force. I thought that them not knowing was just great. And the fact that it was Snoke doing it is even better because he was just trying to manipulate them poorly or whatever.
And it would just happen sporadically and they can just see themselves. That's really interesting. Like they can see each other.
It makes you wonder if he didn't do the half-naked Kylo on purpose because he's trying to emulate that connection between that we see between Anakin and Anakin and Amidala from the prequels, and sort of build up that human connection so that he can tear it away from him and bring him back or closer to Snoke. He tried to do that with his family, and it didn't work in the last movie because even though he killed Han Solo, he just didn't. It didn't bring him to the dark. It just divided him down the middle.
Right.
And even, everything else that he did, it's not there. Even after killing Snoke, he then puts his hand out to Rey after their big battle and he says, "Join me." And then he says, "Please." He's still unsure. He's still divided.
He needs
even after everything he's done. He needs guidance. You're right.
Kylo needs someone. He needs a companion. Like the thing I love about the Kylo Ren character, and it's funny because I didn't love Kylo in the first movie because I'm like, oh, he's kind of whiny, he's kind of petulant.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I like about him now. He's a vulnerable villain. Most villains are based on macho stereotypes. Kylo's the opposite. Kylo is a ball of insecurity. And you see Snoke's trying to manipulate that. And the whole Snoke storyline here, because people are like, oh, I killed off Snoke, you didn't do anything. The Snoke storyline illustrates exactly what Luke says about the Jedi. Luke lays out this whole thing about why the Jedi need to die because they thought they had control over the Force and they fail every time. And they let the dark side live up. Snoke thinks he's so above and so in control of the Force that he can manipulate everybody. And it's that exact hubris that ends up killing him. Kylo's still divided, but it's when he continues to needle at Kylo and go, I know exactly what he'll do. I can make him do whatever I want, that Kylo Ren goes, no, you can't. I was looking for something from you. I lost in Luke, the mentor. He turned his back on me. That's how he saw it. He turned his back on me. And so all Kylo's trying to do from then is trying to be bad. You can tell it's not like Darth Vader. It's not like in his being. He's trying to be bad. He throws fits because he's trying to create rage. And Snoke's trying to create the rage in him. He takes it one step too far, and Kylo goes, you're not what I thought you were. I just wanted someone who's with me, and he kills him. And then when he and Rey turn back to fight, that is in slow motion with their Jedi cloaks on. One of the coolest visuals in any of the Star Wars movies, in my opinion. When they go back and forth, and she's crying, and he's doing that whole thing that why can't I think of the actor's name? Adam Driver does with his lips, where it's kind of like this, I'm on the verge of crying, but I won't let myself. And she's crying, and they're just looking at each other, and they're both looking for something. And they're both wondering, should I turn to his side? Should I turn to her side? And he's the one who takes the lead because he's a little more experienced in this. And he goes, join me. But then it's almost begging her.
Pleading.
I need you. I need someone. Please be that person for me. It's how anybody could not enjoy what they went through and how he killed Snoke, and then that scene, that is one of my favorite emotional scenes of the year. Those two, that moment, mostly in the silence, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely incredible. I loved it.
Yeah, when you see like that was a super amazing trick when he says, you're turning your lightsaber. I can see it right now. And he's actually turning the other lightsaber, turns it on because he's going to execute. But then he doesn't, and then Snoke dies, and it goes off, and you just see this red backdrop against the Snoke's people, and they're just all in red. But then Reylo just in the middle, and they're just back to back, and they're kind of working together a little bit. You can kind of see Rey is a little less experienced with fighting with the lightsaber. I mean, she did some stuff with
Some pretty cool stuff.
yeah, she did some pretty cool stuff still. She did some training back on the island, but she still is not as good as Kylo Ren, but it does look super spectacular. He goes and helps her a little bit. It's super awesome to see these two characters fight together, and I want to see that again. I really hope we get somewhere to where Rey's a little bit more experienced and we see her kind of grow. I hope there's at some point there's a time jump where we see her training. She's trained for a long time, and I really want to see her shine the way that I know that she can. But yeah,
she's
like
fighting off 3 people. She's fighting off 1,
and she barely
she's taking
does
the brunt of it. But she does. Again, this goes to show that we talk about the training of the Jedi and the training of the Sith, and obviously you can see with the control that Snoke has and the things that Luke can do, that clearly the training benefits you, but that the Force is in these people, and they can do amazing things with it. But because she does stuff that we've never seen, like when she's getting in that headlock and she just drops that lightsaber, goes down, picks it up. What a badass move that was! And then when she chucks it over to him, and that's a key moment too, because remember, she hated him. Like, she's building up rage for him early on, and she always calls, even Luke says, Ben Solo, and she calls him Kylo. Kylo. When she throws him the lightsaber, she says, Ben. First name only, familial. It's so cool that she's now thinking he's not this evil guy. He's my friend. And, or at least somebody who I'm, in relational being with. Ben, and he catches it and just stabs that guy in the head, which is so freaking cool.
Yeah, and then they have that conversation where he's like, your parents are nothing, which I hope is not a lie. I hope that that's the truth, because that it subverts the expectation. Sure. And again, no answer that they give could be better than what people have thought of.
Right.
So go with that. Just done. Move on.
That was one of the things that I wanted to ask right now. I was like, who do you think is her parents? And I think I would really hope, like Kevin, that they are nobodies, just to show that she is a nobody, but she rises up to be a hero. Rose is a nobody. She's a mechanic or whatever. She rose up to be a hero because our choices are, like the call said, are what make the decision whether we're light or dark, and our choices really define who we are as characters. I mean, it kind of does. I mean, we do have it sort of inside of us, but our choices do decide what kind of side we're on, whether we're gray or whatever. But that's kind of the theme that's going on. Yeah.
Right. This famous Dumbledore quote, it's our choices, Harry, that, decide who we are, not who our, I forget the exact quote, but it's essentially our choices, not what we're born into, that decides who we're going to be, what kind of person we're going to be. It's a great theme. And it's in some of the best movies that they explore that. So I agree. I love that aspect of it.
And then they fight over and then destroy the lightsaber, and she makes her get away. I mean, that was powerful too. Just the two of them force fighting over it and being pushed back by the other one was just,
and that they are matched in force, which was kind of surprising.
We talked about that balance. That was the balance. Her light rose up to meet his dark. So let's get into Leia, Poe, and Holdo.
One thing we skipped over real quick, just on the little last bit before Rey goes to meet them in the coffin, where she gets out of the ship in the coffin. But her and Luke kind of have a little bit of a fight back and forth, which is kind of cool because she challenges him and says, hey, what's the truth here? Did you turn him into Kylo Ren? And he's like, in his mind, he's like, I don't really know. I kind of did, but that's not my fault. So they fight back and forth, which is cool. Luke falls and uses the Force again in a way that I haven't seen before, where he just kind of braces his fall so gracefully. Yeah. But she looks at him and says, I can turn him. And he's like, no, it will not go the way you think. That's been in all the trailers. And she goes, fine then. And she offers him the lightsaber. Yep. She offers him the opportunity to be the savior. He doesn't take it. And she goes, fine then. He is our last hope. I thought it was you, but if it's not going to be you, it's got to be him. And I got to go take that shot.
I loved that. Because you're right. It was that chance for redemption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Poe, we said he sends off Finn and Rose to go save the day because he's a brash idiot, and he decides he's going to hold his own and hide with Billy Lord the fact that he's sent them away against Holdo because Kylo Ren attacked the ship and Leia got blown out into space. A lot of people had issue with this. I don't. Like I said before, we've established in universe that people can survive in vacuum, at least for a little while. It's also true in real life. This would not be a completely devastating thing if you were out there for a while. Yeah, if you're out there for, you don't have any air, you're not going to be getting yourself out of it. But she has the Force. Some part of her brain just was like, hey, get out of here. And she did the wake up, even a slight pull, and she'll pull herself to it.
I thought that was going to be it. I thought, I would have been okay if that was it for her. I mean,
I would have too. It was sudden, and I do think in some ways it would have been powerful. It would have been a nice way to go out, but I kind of like the fact that they didn't just take the easy out.
Sure.
And
I think
she was such a good character in this.
Yeah.
And she serves purpose going forward.
Yes, she really
in a
did.
big way, so.
I think that they shouldn't have introduced this Vice Admiral Holdo. I think it should have been Admiral Akbar. I think because he was on the bridge too. He died.
Yeah.
I think he should have survived that, and he should have been the Holdo role from then on. Because when Holdo later on goes to Lightspeed and destroys all of the ships, I think that scene with Admiral Akbar would have been 10 times more powerful because he's the hero we've seen. We know him. We know his story. And you can even give him a stupid line where just before he does it, he can just go, "It's a trap," and then just jump to Lightspeed. And that's his legacy.
Right. Or like something profound like this whole world's a trap or this life's a trap. That would have been like, whoa.
Very existential.
Yeah, super But no, I mean, wasn't this meant a lot more to Leia though, no? Wasn't Holdo a character from Leia's childhood? Then they grow up together. We got introduced to her just right now, but like
since production of this movie began, they introduced her into a book, but they didn't have to. That's my point. Like, if they had started from writing this movie to, make this the movie it should have been with Admiral Akbar, then they don't have to introduce her in a book that came out earlier this year.
Right. Sure.
So, I mean, they tried to do that, but if you're not reading the supplemental material, then you're not going to get that.
Which you shouldn't have to.
Right? No, you shouldn't.
So I had an issue with the Holdo character because, again, like you said, you're bringing in some character that nobody knows, and we're supposed to have emotional connection with her by the end, and that's tough to do. Plus, I hate Laura Dern. She was the worst part. Star Wars. She was the worst part of Jurassic Park. I just have never liked her, so I don't like her. So I hate that it was Laura Dern. Maybe if it was somebody else, I would have felt differently. But the reason why this works, I'll give Rian Johnson some credit, is that, again, her character exists for Poe's development.
Sure.
A lot of this movie, even though he's not the big part of it, a lot of this movie is for Poe. Okay? Yep. He has a perception of her because she won a battle.
Because she's a woman.
Well, that's the thing. But she won a battle. So in his mind, he has a perception. Probably that she's a man.
Yeah.
Probably if she's a woman, she's kind of like Leia, has a little more forceful, macho kind of vibe to it because that's the world that he exists in. So when he sees her, he's like, that's her. But she does give right away. She establishes herself as someone who gives the inspirational speech that I think is going to carry into the next movie. That you guys, it's not important that we save this ship. She's hinting, going forward. It's not important that we save this ship. It's not important that, that we defeat that ship over there. What's important is that you guys survive because you individuals will be the spark that lights the fire of the rebellion. And that's a theme that carries through. But he has to now get past his perception that the macho war hero is the person that leads them. She's a passive leader. She's a calculated leader. She's a chess player. Right
Right.
now, Poe is out there playing tiddlywinks or something, and she's playing chess, and he doesn't get it. So he has to get through all of that and observe her success against his failure to see how he needs to play the game going forward. So she does serve a purpose in who she is and the way that she was introduced and the person that she is instead of Akbar. But I can agree with Star Wars fans on this. If it was Admiral Akbar, I would probably have enjoyed it more personally.
Yeah,
I think I would like that better. So.
I mean, she's at least consistent because she is very much the individuals don't matter. It's the idea, and she sacrifices herself, and she doesn't cut Poe in on her plan because it's not his place. I did like that, and she was teaching him a lesson. She was continuing Leia's grooming of him because they made it clear that they had talked about him before.
Oh yeah, they talk. They're buddies. We see that at the end in a very
friends.
emotional scene. They're friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, she even says it. I like that guy. You'd never know it because she's not out there to be obvious. She's not out there to tout herself. She's teaching him in the way that she thinks serves him best.
Yeah, and because if she came out and said, "Hey, I like you. I like what you're doing. I like your head," he'll take it some completely different way, and he'll turn out different. I think this is what he needs to grow. That kind of tough, like, "Hey, no, this is you're wrong. Don't think this." More than just coddling him and doing it that way. I think that's what
you might be good, but you got stuff to learn, man.
Yeah, and Laura Dern has been in like 5 projects a year since like 2013, just so everybody knows. She's doing work.
We did have another voicemail that dealt a little bit with Leia's passing, or Leia fake passing and then saving herself. So I'd like to play that now.
Hi, Coleman Yoakum, Pontiac, Michigan. Here's my thing about Star Wars right now. The thing, I've seen it 3 times at this point. I loved it, really enjoyed it. I don't understand Princess Leia waking up in space and forcing back to the ship. I mean, she's dead. Why not use that as a great moment to kill off her character so you don't have to explain it in exposition in the next movie? I don't understand.
I mean, like I said, I really think that she lent more to the growth of Poe being alive and coming in and being the one to stun him because he thought she was there to save him and to see his side of this. And I just think that they're gonna find some other way to do it, or just have her die off screen, or just not mention her.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of theories that there's going to be a huge time jump between this movie and the next one, and that she just dies peacefully. That's how it starts. The next movie starts with her death, them like a memorial or something like that, and that's kind of how it happens. I mean, I would be okay with that, but yeah, I think this would have been an obvious, like I said, an obvious one where they could have just done it, and I was ready for it, and I was like, oh, this is how it does, this is how it goes, and then she just keeps on going, and she's in life support and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess not. I think the knowledge that she's passed away in real life, that changed it a little bit, where you were kind of expecting it, and that does change the scene to where it's like, oh no, like.
But I think that's also why they wouldn't just kill her that way, because people are expecting it, and this was about subverting those expectations.
Sure.
Well, it's like what they did with Paul Walker in Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
One of the things that made that Fast and the Furious movie so enjoyable to me is all movie long I'm waiting. Oh, this is where Paul Walker dies. Oh, this is where Paul Walker dies. Yeah. And Paul Walker never died. Nope. So it kept me on my toes. And it's part of, a lot of the things in this movie that kept me on my toes. But she has 2 big scenes towards the end that I think are worth keeping her around for. And I think the filmmaker, Rian Johnson, and everybody involved probably felt she did a great job with these scenes. Why it wouldn't be even fair to her to cut these out when she and Holdo say goodbye to each other, and it's the whole before they jinx each other, the force, may the force be with you, and Leia
that's great.
Say it. It was very emotional. Again, I don't even like Laura Dern, and I don't care that much about this character at this point, but they really performed that very well, and you did feel that relationship with them, and the one was saying goodbye to a dear friend and companion.
Oh yeah,
she's known for a long time.
When she jumped to hyperspace and destroyed the First Order's ships, the whole theater, I mean, everything being silent, everything being black and white, everyone in the theater was so quiet
Oh, that was so
If
interesting.
anybody
just
tells
such a
me they
tingly
expected
thing.
that, I say you're full of
No.
absolute crap. I didn't see that coming, and when it happened, and then a lot of times they do that whole thing in movies where the big explosion and they cut to silence. That actually worked because you don't know what the ramifications of this
No.
are. Because on that ship exists Kylo Ren, Rey,
Right.
Finn, Rose. You don't know what that explosion will do.
Nope.
And then
was
again,
amazing.
yeah, again they do that silence. You see the ship, you see a beautiful shot of the straight shot right through the whole ship, and then it cuts to like Tim, what you were saying earlier, just like war footage. You don't see it actually like crumbling down. You don't see it. You just see the
No.
aftermath.
Nope.
You just
You see Finn waking
everything's
up.
going crazy, and it's
Yep.
like, oh boy, this is war. And that's another part where it's just like, this is a Star Wars. You're like, this is
So,
crazy.
Coleman from the last voicemail had a couple of thoughts on that as well.
Second thing that I thought was really cool, I've never seen a ship jump into hyperspace and cut another ship in half. That was incredible. I don't know why there aren't more weapons based on going hyperspeed as an idea. Why aren't there hyperspace missiles that you can shoot at a ship that just cut it in half? Why has that weapon not been developed if this was such a effective way to cut up, the biggest ship in the galaxy? So these are some of my thoughts. Overall, I give the movie an 8. Really enjoyed it. Excited about the next one. Look forward to the podcast and the breakdown about it. Love what you guys are doing. Looking forward to hearing y'all. Bye.
So solid review from him, and yeah, this is getting called the Holdo maneuver, and people are questioning if this breaks the Star Wars lore and it breaks what we're doing. I personally think it's just because it was in close proximity that this happened with that ship and all that. Kevin's going to give me the real answer right here.
I read someone on Reddit that explained that when a ship goes to hyperspace, before it enters the dimension that is hyperspace, it approaches infinite mass because of the acceleration to get there. So you have to be really close to something to have that effect. And the timing of it is exact.
Back to the Future. You got to hit 88 miles an hour before you can get where you want to go, right? So
right. So it's sort of like a small time window, timing, aiming type of thing. So it's never been, maybe it's been tried before, but it's never been successfully used in battle. And it is something that you have to, either set up a dedicated thing for, or someone has to do, because they've shown us that it's a lever that does this. I'm fine with it. I don't think that this breaks anything. I don't think we needed anything else. I don't. You'd have to be close to something to do this, and it takes time. I think it was just the shock of her trying this that let her get away with it.
It was pretty cool, though.
It was like super cool. And how, I don't know, that whole time that General Hux and that huge ship were just like waiting, that just felt like super lame. Like, how lame is like General Hux? He's just like,
super. Send someone ahead and have them come from the other direction.
Yeah, we'll just wait it out. We'll shoot at them.
Out of this. He was
just shoot at them a little bit.
But I could kind of see him doing that too, and just being like, "We'll get them. We have time and resources."
Yeah, it's like 18 hours. Like, we'll wait 18 hours or however long it was. And it's like, yeah, sure. Let's just shoot at them a little bit and let them know we're still here. It's like, of course they fucking know you're there. Jesus Christ, do something. Kill them already. Like,
so everybody escapes the ship except for Holdo. They make their way to Crate, the mining planet that was abandoned. So I never understand like why there's all these abandoned planets. Like, why would you abandon a planet you can breathe on? Why would you abandon a mine that isn't done?
It's just full of salt.
Breathe on all planets. All species
I
can
guess.
breathe on all planets. This is more the Star Wars science,
and then they're trapped in the one base that's there, and the doors. There's only one way in. We've got the big doors. This seems like a flawed design. You can't. What do you do when you need to go out and it's raining? Do you open the big door? No.
Dude, it's a bunker. When people create doomsday bunkers, there's one way in.
They're planning
And
to
one
live
way
there
out.
for a really long time.
Exactly.
have
Well, that's
all
what
their
this is.
resources.
They got them
This
to
is
the
a
truth.
bunker base. That's
This just
exactly
wasn't
what
good.
it is. It's to keep everybody out.
How did the speeders get out then? How did the speeders get out if they were under attack and the First Order dropped their doorbuster like 30 miles away for no reason? And so the speeders were sent out. Where did the speeders come from? They had to open the big door. No, that's not how this works.
Little crack.
So everybody's back together. You know, BB-8 is back with Poe, biggest, best relationship in the world.
little dog. He's like his little robot dog. He's
Yeah.
rubbing his belly and stuff. But
you get-
just before that, Leia's keeping the door open, right?
Yeah.
He's keeping the door open. There's that cool little shot where she's got her scarf on and you can see her eyes, and it's very like great Carrie Fisher, moment there. She's keeping the doors open because they're expecting some more people, right?
Yep.
That's why they do it for the last minute. Because the first time I saw it, I'm like, why are they keeping these doors open? And then I realized they're waiting for the last minute. Oh, last minute, we lost our opportunity. Here comes the fighters. Let's close the doors. One fighter gets in. One fighter. Who's on that ship? Because we don't think it's a good guy. We're shooting them. Oh, it's Finn and Rose. What a coincidence.
Weird.
Once again,
See that coming.
the grand Star Wars tradition of wonderful coincidences. The crash factor stops at just the last moment,
Yep.
and the only fighter that manages to skid its way under the door happens to contain the good guys. So, yeah, Star Wars, because Star Wars.
We've got the giant AT-M6s, the AT-ATs. They're coming. They're dragging the big doorbuster weapon that they have for whatever reason. It just seems to me like they could have built that into a better, more mobile platform.
Yeah, it's just like
Also,
carrying it.
why does the Empire / First Order, why do they always have the biggest guns?
Yeah,
Why
because they have the most
the
money.
rebellion?
They have the
Well,
most money.
Yeah, why haven't they devoted more R&D into big guns? I don't get it.
Because they're more
what the
about
heck?
peace and love and happiness. They're space.
They got all those bombs, but then they killed them all.
Right.
They got like a ton of bombs.
It's not supposed to make sense. It's not
A
going.
ton of little bombs, though.
So they're surviving. They're happy. Everybody's wonderful. Kumbaya. I mean, really, I loved the whole desperation of it.
Yeah.
They're gonna die. That's all it is. They're gonna die. They're
They're
dead.
just trying to do whatever desperate thing they can do, which is the only explanation to why you would send those. What do they call them? Light crafts? Is that what they call them? That's the only explanation as to why you would send those light crafts out there, because it's a suicide mission.
They're just waiting for their allies,
Right.
And no
And
one showed up except.
It gives Poe the opportunity to make the smart choice, quote unquote, but they never should have gone out there in the first place. It was pure desperation. It was doomed to fail because there's fighters out there, and you're in this hunk of junk.
Oh, yeah.
You're not doing anything with it.
And there's no way that Rose got ahead of Finn to knock him off his path.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense. I agree with you, William, and all that it doesn't make any sense why she's out there in the first place. Whatever.
But in the moment, it's such a sweet move. She's so in love with him, and he is just such an idiot. And it works.
He was going to kill himself.
He was. He was dead. He was
Good
absolutely
for him, though,
dead.
because
And
again,
then-
he picked his side. This shows the strength of his dedication. He
But
was
it
ready
shows that
to take it.
he's making the same stupid things Poe did. He was as dumb as Poe was. That's what it was. And
See,
it's not about individuals. It's about the team. And so I think that he got that jump start by Rose. She saved him and showed him that it's all about the group. It's all about the ideals, not the peoples.
Yeah, her little speech to him, right? And then she kisses him and all that.
And then he spent the next half hour dragging her across enemy territory into the front door.
Which took like a minute real time.
Right.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
But
so
that
we
was
do agree that
one
doesn't
of the
make
coolest
sense. Whatever.
things that she said was, and this it goes into the whole theme of letting the old stuff die. It's always been, let's fight against who we hate. We hate the bad guys, so let's fight them. And we hate the good guys, so let's fight them. And she says, let's fight for what we love.
Right.
There's a lot of, if you're a person who is in religion, there's a lot of excellent religious lessons in here, that the whole God and the devil and good and bad, you're not just we see it in politics. It's not just about judging and saying, let's denounce the things we hate. Really, what faith and religion, in this case, the Jedi's religion, is let's live for the things that we love. And I thought that was a beautiful sentiment by her, and does kind of set up what I think is going to be the inspiration for the rebellion going forward.
No, I agree.
For sure. And it's gone. Whatever.
So
and then Rey comes in, and Chewbacca.
Yeah. Oh wait, no. Okay, before that. Oh, so we've been harping on how this movie. Yeah, I got it. Sorry, fucking audio listeners, deal with it. Kevin's not gonna fix me. And I'll say all I want. So this whole movie, we've been harping on how real it actually was, and this whole time they've been running out of fuel in the ship. Whatever. They finally find this place, and we finally see all of what's left of the resistance. And then I forgot who said it, but they're like, this is it. Like it finally feels real when you see them all in the bunker, and how many resources, how many people are actually out fighting. And there was only like 7 or 8 speeders that went out. And it's like
13.
They're 13. Well, yeah, they got down to like 3 or 2 or whatever I think it was, but it's like, man, this is like nothing. This really feels like one-sided. Nobody's coming. This is all that survived, and the whole movie, it just feels like we're defeated. That we're gonna be defeated. The light side's gonna go under or whatever. And I just felt that when they were in the bunker. It's just like, wow, there's nobody, and that was a big moment for me. But going forward.
Yeah, so that's when Luke shows up. Luke shows up. He's going to save the day. Everybody thinks he's there to save the day. He gives.
But Rey and Chewbacca first. Hold on. Rey and Chewbacca first.
Okay, fine. Rey and Chewbacca.
How cool was that? I'm sorry, Chewbacca's a freaking badass. Look at the way he's driving.
Hell yeah.
And they take everybody away, and Finn goes, man, they hate that ship. And this also shows Kylo Ren. He is an emotional being. He is not a logical being. And he has one thought. That's my father's ship. Shoot that thing out of the sky. And it's to his own detriment. The only way that they could have possibly tried to kill that weapon was to get those fighters out of the way. And Rey and Chewbacca did it. And she's over there shooting like she's been doing this her whole life, which is awesome. Right, yeah. And she's enjoying it. It's one of the cool moments because she goes, oh, I like this. Yeah. And I like it when they actually, for moments of levity, get to enjoy themselves in something that they're doing, because it's a pretty shitty life. So anyways.
Yeah. I mean, you could almost see some of the force in it when she took a shot and took down like 4 fighters at once. It's kind of neat. But then Luke shows up, and Luke has a moment with Carrie Fisher, Leia, and says something about her, and she says, oh, I've changed my hair.
That was like the first
I liked that. He gave her the dice from the Millennium Falcon as a, nobody's ever really gone moment. And then he steps out, and he's on the field. He's gonna attack Kylo Ren, and all of those turbo laser bolts just hitting where he was, and Kylo just losing his tantrum shit on it.
Just keeps going.
More amazing.
And Hux is like, you think you got him? Like, you got him.
Oh, exactly. And then when it all ends and Luke steps up out of the pit, even he did the shoulder brush thing, which a lot of people are upset about for whatever reason. Because
I thought it was cool, man.
Oh my God.
It was so awesome.
Coolest thing.
And then Kylo comes down.
Right now is taunting Kylo Ren. That's his whole purpose.
And that's the thing. They start fighting, and every once in a while, during the fight between Kylo Ren and Luke, the camera just focuses on their feet. And the first time I watched it, I couldn't figure out why. I knew there was something there, and I knew we'd seen earlier in the movie, every time you take a footstep, it leaves a red mark. But I didn't catch that Luke isn't leaving any marks.
Right.
I caught it.
We talked about this, Kevin.
Yeah.
I had another explanation for it. Like, it wasn't, they did such a good job of fooling you. I'm like, oh, Kylo Ren's got some sort of tell, because he's, this is his master. So he knows that when he moves his foot this way, he's going to go this way. He's doing such an amazing job of dodging him. They're like, oh man, Luke's such a genius. He knows what Kylo's going to do before he's going to do. And that's why they're focusing on the footprint. Never did it cross my mind.
Yeah,
never did it cross my mind.
They showed so many times of, just them walking through it, just like leaving the camera on the red footstep, and I was like, what? I was like, okay, cool, red salt, like cool. And then they had the, even the speeders had all this red behind them. Everything you saw the red salt mines.
Stunning.
Oh man, the mines too. Whenever the Falcon was going through them, it's beautiful. It's really crazy. And then it was just like a super amazing send off, no footprints, and we were like, what's going on? I mean,
and even when Luke walks out, and all of the people are like looking at him in awe, like this is the hero moment. Like, it's Skywalker, it's the legend, it's the freaking guy, and they pan and they show him from behind with the AT-ATs, and the sun is setting, and then when Kylo comes and they show them side by side, beautiful. Like that was the picture, the illustration was painted so beautifully. Oh, it was gorgeous. Love the shots in that part of the movie.
Exactly. And I was so taken, I didn't even realize that the lightsaber Luke had was the one that was just destroyed. Like literally 2 minutes before, it was the one that was destroyed.
Yeah.
Dude, I did not catch that.
They throw so many hints at us in this movie, but in this scene, but they make. This is what I loved about this movie. I was so caught up in the emotion of everything that I couldn't even pick up the obvious sense. But one other thing that I noticed in this, when there was a lot of foreshadowing in this movie that I missed the first time, or even the first two times, when Luke and Rey are on the island and he's explaining the failures of the Jedi and he talks about he becoming a legend, Rey says to him, maybe what we need is a legend. And what is this? This is the legend. It's not even real Luke Skywalker. It's the legend of Luke Skywalker that makes.
You're right. It was 20 years younger. It was Black Rose.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, super Chuck Norris.
How people remember him. It wasn't him.
No. Yeah.
And that's
when I put that together, I'm like, Rian Johnson, you are awesome.
Even before that, we didn't talk about his meeting with Yoda. And we didn't even talk about that and the Jedi stuff about how he met with how Yoda came up and he just struck down the Jedi tree. And it's
if you listen to that though, everything Yoda says is telling you, because we see that Rey has the books. When Rey left Ahch-To, we saw her close the drawer on the Millennium Falcon. Later in the movie, we see Finn open the drawer and there are the books from the Jedi tree. Yoda says to Luke, there's nothing in there she doesn't already possess. Yoda says something along the lines of,
and he meant it literally,
Yeah, he says it's just a tree. He doesn't say it's a tree, it's just books. He says it's just a tree. So it's just a tree. And I loved that they actually went back and used the original mold to remake the puppet that they used, that they didn't rely on any CGI at all for that. It was just amazing.
That was really awesome.
Frank Oz back to voice and puppeteer it. They even got the same woman back to paint the eyes. How cool is that? That is so cool.
Yeah. We had some comments, I think, on Instagram or something about great practical tweets, I think. Great practical and special effects together. And in that scene, particularly, that whole conversation with Yoda. And it's just like, oh, that really brought back some nostalgia. And it's like, yes, this is how I want my Yoda, not fucking jumping around the room, or you know what I mean, CGI jumping around the room.
But just the maniacal laughter.
Yeah, there you go.
That whole like whimsical Yoda where he's like, "Oh, I love you, Luke Skywalker. I miss you. I have," or something like that. It's funny.
We had some.
Then he utters the famous scene or the famous line about failure being the great teacher.
Yes.
And that, again, he just throws it right in our face what the major theme of this movie is. I loved how many times Rian Johnson he just put things out there. It's like, there's a theme in this movie, and I'm just going to tell you what it is. And then, like you talked about, Kevin, even planting things right in front of our face that we don't, because we're caught up in some of the bigger things we don't even realize, like the books. And, we were just talking about the hints that they give us that Luke Skywalker is not real. There's so many times in this movie where they just plant things out there that we should be picking up on, but we're so caught up in it that we can't. There's so much going on in this movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a pet theory that the little crystal fox that they chase out at the end that shows them the way out was another force projection by Luke, because that only seems to make sense to me. That would be, even if it isn't part of what they intended, that would make so much sense because it would show agency. It shows that the Fox was doing something and not just force showing them. I thought it was kind of cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that this movie
One of the other things
is up for some good places to go in the sequel.
Sure.
One of the other things I noticed, again, just planning things with that Luke Skywalker scene, is after he talks to Leia, he turns and CPO says to him, "Master Luke." And I'm not sure if it was a statement or a question. And what does Luke do? He winks at him.
Yeah, he just winks at him.
"Hey, buddy." Was that him saying, "Yeah, it's not me"?
Maybe that's
Yeah.
you know what? That's a great interpretation of it.
And even if
Awesome.
it wasn't a question, the wink, I think, was him saying, "How you doing?"
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, after that, the whole Yoda thing, and again, he still had something to learn from his master, and then we get into the again, as we were talking about the fight with Kylo Ren.
Yeah. So what else do you guys have before we wrap up?
I mean, honestly, just the what everybody's talking about, the decoder ring and the little kid at the end with the force pull of the broomstick. We see that they again, all of that whole scene is just symbolism for something bigger. It's not I don't think it's supposed to be taken literal. I mean, you can say that he kind of force pulled it a little bit. I mean, we had William, he said that he's going to be the next apprentice or whatever. It's like, no, this is not supposed to be literal, I don't think. This is me being a bigger picture.
He's not going to be a main character.
No, he's not going to be a character at all, but this is definitely a sign that the Resistance still lives, that there is a glimmer of hope somewhere because of the ring, because of the symbol, it means something, and that he holds it up like a lightsaber, meaning that there are more people out there. There are more people than we know and more people than we see that are on that side, and we just need that spark, and they're definitely lighting the fire right here. So it was not, in my opinion, not to be taken literal, as a lot of people are, and this is just a symbol. This is just a sign of something. And
hope is like the biggest theme since the very beginning of Star Wars.
Sure.
I mean, the first one was called A New Hope, and that's what we know. What they're showing there is that there's people who can use and master the Force everywhere. And that's where our hope lies, in the downtrodden, the people on the outskirts. That's where we're going to rise. That's where we're going to take this rebellion. Yeah. There was two things. So just in the final scene, there was two handoffs in this that I think were important. We talked about reasons why Leia came back. When Poe is finally starting to play chess, and he's alerting himself to the subtleties. He's the one who hears, oh, wait, there's no crystal critters anymore. And he says, hey, follow me. And it's a very much a leader statement. It's not a question, come with me. Will you come with me? It's follow me. Everybody looks to Leia. What does Leia say? You heard the man.
Yeah.
That is her officially going, you've learned your lessons, my Padawan. You are the leader now, and I'm officially transitioning power. I'm telling people to follow you. And you see it with Luke. I mean, obviously Luke fights Kylo. Kylo realizes that it's not him. He disappears. He falls down back on the island, gives himself up to the Force is what I choose to believe. I don't think he died from exhaustion. I think he says, I did what I was supposed to do. And what he was supposed to do was hand off to Rey. She's the hope now. We thought that the light to meet the dark we thought was him. We learn it's Rey. She's the hope. And when she lifts those rocks, which was a funny line, lifting rocks is what I thought it was. The looks on their faces when they see her and they see what they're capable of, they in their mind go, we don't need Luke Skywalker. We need someone who can do this. Look at this. And it is that transition, that handoff, that the person who's going to lead the light side of, I'm not going to call it Jedi, the light side of the Force is this woman here.
So in A New Hope, when Obi-Wan was fighting Vader, he says, if you strike me down, I'll be more powerful than you could ever imagine. And then he disappears before he's struck down. Luke says the same thing to Kylo and then disappears.
Yeah, if you strike me down with hate,
It's paraphrased, but it's the same sentiment.
The other thing I just wanted to point out, minor thing, and this is probably my last observation of the movie itself, or the major plots or stuff like that. We talked about Qui-Gon Jinn earlier. Rey looked a whole lot like Qui-Gon Jinn with her robes and her hair.
Yeah.
The way her hair ends
Sure.
up falling and doing the little ponytail on the top, all I kept thinking was, wait, I've seen this before. It's Liam Neeson.
So I want to read some tweets. Everybody had their thoughts on this, and I'm sure we have some Instagram stuff too if anybody wants to read those. But Daniel Oren, we had him come in and be interviewed by some of the nerdy boys, and he gave his thoughts on the new Star Wars movie. He said, "Hey guys, I'm traveling, but I thought Last Jedi was the best Star Wars since the original trilogy. I was excited to see Mark Hamill in action. The humor was awesome, acting was great, story was solid, and effects were a great mix of practical and digital. #Force is strong in this one." So thank you to @Farange. That's what he is on Twitter. Freelance BKC said, "Recently I watched Star Wars A New Hope for the first time ever. Now I understand. LOL, watching Empire Strikes Back next, and so on. I am hooked." So there are still people that are discovering Star Wars, and that's fantastic. Yeah. There's a long way to go, and tons of new material always coming out. William, our favorite fan, said, "I think the fans need to stop and breathe. They need to enjoy it for what it was. Flawed, yes, but a thoroughly great movie worthy of the title." So he gave us a lot of stuff, a lot about the secret decoder ring and all this stuff, but overall he did enjoy the movie, and it's Star Wars. He's definitely going to see it again. The next one, there was a lot of tweets about that. Let's see. Brittany, @BrittanyDG, said, "I'm only 23, so I was born when the prequels were coming out." Oh, me too. "And a huge deal. I've seen them all, and as we know, the originals are the best, but I think The Last Jedi was great and will bring in the new generation into loving Star Wars like the prequels did for my generation." So I definitely do agree. I think that this whole thing needs to be something more than a Skywalker saga if it's going to keep going on. And if there's another 3 movies after this one already planned, this has to be something bigger than the Skywalkers. So it is definitely going in the right direction, in my opinion. False Starts Pod said, "If you complained about TFA being too similar to A New Hope, then you can't complain that The Last Jedi doesn't feel like Star Wars. It does new things and subverts expectations. It does have its flaws, Canto Blight, but it currently sits under A New Hope and ESP in third for me." So definitely agree with that. Boy, let's see right here. @Mr. Kiesling said, tweet this, "The increase in diversity in the Resistance is awesome. However, it signals a clear and conscious choice to have a complete lack of diversity represent the First Order." Talk about that. They're all going to be white guys that are bad. So
Sure.
any
discussed
thoughts
it
about that
earlier
one?
in the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. They're Republicans. It's fine.
It's always going to be the white people that are bad. I mean, that's kind of how it's going to be. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. @Earth919 Pod said, "It was a letdown." So that was one bad thought on that one. But any Instagram comments worth reading, Tim?
Well, we read Bite Size Lemons already. Another follower, it's E_TH, I think it's 0 RSY4, the number 4, real, said it was awesome. I think almost any movie that's Star Wars related is awesome, no matter what Star Wars is my life. So we have a biased opinion,
Sure,
but a Star Wars fan that enjoyed a Star Wars movie nonetheless, which is, I think, the objective here. So,
yeah. Any more voicemails you want to play, Kevin?
No, that's everything we had.
Awesome. So let's get into our last. What do we give this movie? We always rate movies on the show 1 to 10. 10 was Guardians of the Galaxy. 11 was Thor. We had a 4, which was Ghost in the Shell. That's kind of our range in movies. So where does this new Star Wars sit?
I give it a 10.
10?
Ooh.
10.
So under Guardians and Thor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great movie. It was a Star Wars movie, second biggest opening weekend of any movie ever, but it had some problems.
Sure.
You know, I admit that. But good movie.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I think I'm going to say 9. Yeah, because my numbers are always 1 under y'all. But yeah, I'm going to say 9 on that one. So it did have its flaws. It did have some, it's Star Wars-y, force, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. But, it was very enjoyable, and I loved watching it in 3D. It was fantastic.
Yep.
I have a hard time grading it because I think for a Star Wars movie, it had the best character development, some of my favorite symbolism. I thought amongst the plot holes and coincidences, I thought that Rian Johnson really crafted an awesome movie and a very enjoyable movie that kept me on my toes, kept me guessing. And yeah, people say there's a lot of gotcha moments, but I love that because now I don't know what's going to happen. So it makes it difficult for me to predict the movie, which is enjoyable. I will say that I think Guardians and Thor were better movies. So I don't necessarily want to give it that grade, but I think I enjoyed this movie. I've watched it 3 times already, and I enjoyed watching this movie more than any movie I've seen all year. So I'm not going to give it a number because I don't think the number that I would give it would reflect the enjoyment I experienced while watching it.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
Right up there amongst the top, but it was easily my favorite movie of the year to go see.
And you're speaking on this about how we don't know where it's going to go. A lot of people did have problems with the big ambiguity of where the third one's going to go as far as story and all that stuff. Everybody's like, it does not. That's kind of one of the problems I had as well. As a second movie, it just doesn't, show you where the third one's going to go. And that's good and a bad thing. It might have been a little too much for some people where it's like you don't completely know anything or how they're going to get out of this one. And to some people that's really cool, and some people it's not. So a lot of people have.
Well, I say great because then the Star Wars fans won't spend 2 years holding on to their theories, so they won't hate the next one because it didn't come to fruition with their theories.
That's probably why I say
that's a good thing for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on Star Wars? We talked a lot on Star Wars, and that's awesome.
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. So don't forget, you can reach us on most social media at Nerdy Things Pod. That's Nerdy Things POD. You can send us an email as well at nerdythingspod@gmail.com. You can visit our website, nerdythingspod.com, for the latest nerdy news updated daily. Links to our merch for shirts and more. We have new shirts. We have a new Star Wars merch that's coming out this week whenever you listen to this episode, a new YouTube one, because we're on YouTube as well. You can go to our website to see the videos that we make because we do this in video and it's on our YouTube channel and all that stuff. We have the episodes on our YouTube channel. We have some extra videos. We had 4 videos go up this week, so go check those out. Those are all
and more
a little
to come.
bit shorter. And
there's a bunch of movies coming out this week, guys, so be on the lookout for those YouTube videos because I'm sure they'll come fast and furious.
Oh, there you go.
Well, not another Fast and the Furious movie just yet.
No, not yet. But,
but yeah, just go subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where we put it up. We put up the full podcast and video, but again, the guys were saying we have shorter videos if you want supplemental stuff between the podcasts. You can also go to our website for Patreon for extra content if you want to be our patron. And we talked about it last week. They're not changing the rates and all that stuff, so you can be a patron at still $1 and get bloopers, early access to the podcast, some other cool stuff, all that on our Patreon. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail, and we really do appreciate everybody that texted us and everybody that left a voicemail, which is really cool to hear everybody's thoughts, and we want to keep doing that. And again, we'll let you know what we're going to talk about beforehand on Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff. So you can definitely call in again for next week's topic. And maybe a little spoiler, we're going to go see a movie very soon that just came out today. So that's a spoiler for next week's episode.
And we might have a guest. So
we might have some guests. Oh, super cool. And they might be well, I don't want to give too much away, but we'll tell you on Twitter, Instagram, and all that good stuff what next episode's going to be. And that's it for our Star Wars episode.
Sounds good.
All right.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Bye.